It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. We have an all-in-studio cast today, joined by Katie Roof from TechCrunch, Mike Elgan from Computer World, and I'm thrilled to have the acting administrator for the U.S. Digital Services, Matt Cutts, in studio with us. We've got a lot to talk about. Android O's coming out tomorrow. The big eclipse is also tomorrow. The essential phone, the Galaxy Note, and Google. Is it going to lose its trademark? They might be going to the Supreme Court over it. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Twit This Week in Tech, episode 628, recorded Sunday, August 20th, 2017. Trash Analytics. This Week in Tech is brought to you by PayPal Working Capital. PayPal wants to boost your cash flow with a $5,000 business loan from PayPal Working Capital. Visit paypal.com/twit to learn more. And by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life. That's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully so you can be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/twit2. And by Betterment, the largest independent online financial advisor. For one low, transparent fee, Betterment gives you personalized advice and invests your money. For a limited time, you can get up to 1 year managed free. Learn more at betterment.com/twit. And by LegalZoom. August is National Make-A-Will Month. Prepare for your family's future. Visit LegalZoom.com/prepare today for a free estate planning kit. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news in obsessive, compulsive detail. And today, you're going to be so glad you're listening because we have all in studio, one of the best panels ever. And I don't know whether I should start on the left or the right. I'm going to start on the left because it's so rare we get Matt Cutts in studio. Matt is the acting administrator for the U.S. Digital Services in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely.
Matt, we've had you on Twig before, back when you were at Google, one of the early Google employees. You left Google, you took a sabbatical, then went to Washington. Mr. Cutts Goes to Washington. It'd be a great movie someday. And you're still there.
Still there. Yeah.
Your predecessor was a political appointee, so when Donald Trump was inaugurated, who was your predecessor?
Mikey Dickerson.
Mikey Dickerson. He had to resign,
Yep.
and you were just standing there, and they said, here, you do it?
They asked whether I would be willing to preserve the mission of the U.S. Digital Service.
What is the mission?
Well, to make sure that federal computing services work better. You know, healthcare.gov is the most famous example.
So my anecdotal memory is, remember when they first put healthcare.gov up, it crashed because so many people visited it. And Silicon Valley said, well, wait a minute, we could do better. This was a government contractor, and there was a lot of interconnects. It was the site was not designed to succeed.
Right.
And Silicon Valley said, well, wait a minute, we can do better. And a bunch of people volunteered and rewrote the code and redid it. And that was the birth of the USDS?
Absolutely. After that, the president said, you know, this could happen, if it could happen to a signature political, marquee product, it can happen to anything. And so we need technologists and people who understand how tech works to be able to be in the room and say, this is not how a computer works. And help out.
Do people typically take a leave from their company and go to work for a period of time?
Yeah, I was still at Google last year and went on a 6-month leave. And
you fell in love.
Last day, yes.
You moved to DC for a girl, all known as the USDS. Yeah.
And it's been a great experience.
Oh, that's so great that you're still doing that. And thank you. And the Veterans Administration website, a lot of websites that are vital to people are working better because of the USDS.
And it's not just websites. Doctors, students, soldiers who want to move across the country, just, people who need help because they're working with the government. It does feel good. It does.
And I know the last time you were on, you said we are looking for volunteers.
Yes. We're looking for designers, engineers, product managers. We have $100 million projects that would work much, much better with only 2 or 3 more well-qualified people. And
despite the kind of the turmoil going on at the top of the administration, we were talking before the break, the government goes on. I mean, and has to, otherwise there would be real turmoil. Right. And the USDS is budgeted. You're still doing the job. You're still working hard. So this is a really big opportunity for somebody to take a little break. Your company will probably support you. You've got people from Microsoft, Google, Apple, everybody working there. Yeah. And go help out and make a difference. I think that's great.
Yeah. If people are looking for meaningful work, this is absolutely a fantastic time to come.
Yeah. Oh, so good to have you in studio.
Good to be in person, yeah.
We also welcome back Mike Elgan. He is. This is his last visit for a while because you're going to Barcelona.
1 week from today, going back to Barcelona.
That's brave. Are you not a little nervous?
Not at all.
The terrorist attack?
Not at all. Not at all. It's, Barcelona has taken a lot of serious hits historically. This is a city that's been through absolute hell over the centuries, and this is nothing for Barcelona. Well, and if people are already back on that
great
Las
spirit.
Ramblas and stuff.
Well, and I remember Las Ramblas. Anybody who's visited Barcelona has probably walked down Las Ramblas. Yep. That is the center of activity in Barcelona.
That's right. And Barcelona has always been a radically multicultural. It's a port. That's why Madrid historically has always suspected Barcelona as kind of an outsider, because it's always been filled with people from all over the world. And it's still like that. It will always be like that. And it's just a fantastic city, and I can't wait to get back there.
I'm so glad. And everybody who is coming to your Gastro Nomad event next month in Barcelona is still coming.
That's right. That's right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody feels the same way I do. We're raring to go and looking forward to it. And anybody, if I can just do one quick plug,
please.
If you are interested in the Gastro Nomad experiences or want to find out more, we have a newsletter. So if you go to the site, you'll see the newsletter tab. Just sign up for the newsletter, and you'll be informed.
And I see you've already said it. You've now set a date for the Italian one in May. It's Prosecco.
Prosecco experience.
How fun! And I know you're going to do one in Morocco, and the Mexico City event's coming. And, what a neat idea!
And we're thinking about Sonoma, so that's going to be a good
I know, and that's the one I'm definitely coming.
Yeah.
Hey, I also want to welcome somebody who's been on the network but never been on Twit before, and I'm thrilled to have her. I'm a fan. I've been seeing her work on TechCrunch for the last couple of years. Katie Roof is here, and it's great to have you. Senior writer at TechCrunch.
Good to be with you.
You've heard her on the podcasts and seen her on the daily news show. What's the name of the podcast you do?
It's called Equity. It's about venture capital and business topics.
Perfect. Nice to have you, Katie. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be
and you
here.
came up and you came in the studio, and it's so great. I have a whole bunch of people with me. I'm not so lonely as I usually am. Where should we start? There's so many topics. I'll start with a couple of light ones, then we get to some heavy stuff. And I'm mad at Google because I was all set to enjoy the eclipse, and then Google announced, oh, by the way, when the eclipse is over, it's probably smart because people will be watching live streams. They're going to announce Android O at 11:24 tomorrow afternoon, 20 hours from now, right after the end of the eclipse.
You can just go from one straight on to the other.
I guess that was the plan, probably. Now, what's your best guess? Android O, Oreo?
I will just note that the eclipse with a dark disk coming across it would really work well with
it looks
Oreo,
like a cookie,
right?
It's a triple
thought about
stuff.
That. Yeah. Even the countdown is that sort of white disk.
Yeah. It's going to be Oreo. It's going to be Oreo.
Some people say it's definitely Oreo because Google quote accidentally released a video that if you looked at the name of the file, it had Oreo in it. But I want to point out, Google is known. Hiroshi Lockheimer, remember when he wrote his blog post about Android N? Said, what's N stand for? I'm not gonna tell you, which was complete disinformation, right? Because it ended up being nougat,
right?
So you're right? I mean, I'm not wrong. Google's completely capable of putting. They know
they are capable, but they often leak by mistake.
They could have been an accident. And the other problem is there aren't a lot of desserts with O.
Orange stuff.
Orange sherbet?
Yeah.
But an Oreo cookie is so iconic, and it's going to make such a great statue. I think it's got to be
Here's
Oreo.
why I don't like it. It is iconic, but it's a brand name.
Yeah.
And remember when Kit Kat, which is the other brand name they used, I think a lot of people, I resented, I think you might, I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
Because it was like an ad. Every time I mentioned Android Kit Kat, it's like an ad for Android Kit Kat, for a candy bar.
I think when in the world of candy bars, they're such old brands. It's like
Oreo is pretty.
It doesn't matter. It's not that competitive.
Yeah.
People like what they like. They eat what they eat. I don't think it's going to make a big difference.
Is Oreo Nabisco? Is that who that is?
It's got to be something like that.
Wouldn't it be funny if it were Android Hydrox? The fake Oreo?
Yeah. Well,
wait a minute. Hydrox was first?
Oh.
Carsten, who was apparently there's a little skin in the game on this one because he seems quite adamant.
A little passionate there.
It was eclipsed by Oreo.
It makes sense because no one would name a cookie Hydrox. That's obviously from another century.
Right, exactly.
I mean, come on. That's like Moxie Cola. You mean, you just did Hydrox. What a terrible name.
These cookies
Oreo was a
started out
copy.
as medicinals. No,
Yeah.
don't listen to me. It's
Would
not
they
true.
have to pay Oreo to use
Well,
their
that's
name?
the question.
Or Oreo would pay them.
Now,
I mean, it's
Synergy. I think the word is
Now,
synergy.
even though Matt was employee number 11 or something
In the
at
first
Google.
100.
First 100 at Google, and probably knows a lot more than he's telling. And I'm certainly going to let you off the hook if you don't want to talk about it. But I'm sure there's a meeting where people get together and discuss the name. Or no? Or does Hiroshi just decide?
I
a
might
tight
just be
circle.
Hiroshi that decides.
He just decides.
I'm sure there's a team though, especially when it's something like Kit
It's
Kat.
a
You
big
have
deal.
to do
Right.
coordination, strategy. All
Yeah, you
that
can't
sort
just
of
call it Oreo without talking to
No. Yeah.
Mondelez. That's who makes it. Mondelez.
You're kidding.
Mondelez Industries.
Mondelez International.
Doesn't Kramer own that?
Nabisco's
Yeah.
division there. Yeah.
The food industry is so weird. Probably Nabisco's owned by Mondelez.
Right. It is. Yes.
It is.
Ah.
Well, Katie would know. She knows all of this stuff. She's the finance expert here.
So there
So,
was a site that we could go to.
am I saying it right? Mondelez or Mondelez?
I think it's Mondelez, but actually,
Mondelez, it's got a little
I'm not
line.
really a food conglomerate expert, but
It's one of the world's largest snack companies. I know that. Yeah, it's got a little bar over the E, which would indicate Mondelez. And, God, you got to go to this
heard
website.
of it.
Innovating our cracker portfolio. Dirk Van de Put to become CEO of Mondelez International. Okay. Apparently they own Chips Ahoy, Trident, Toblerone, Alpengold, Tang, and Oreo.
yeah, they own a lot of stuff.
So what do? You go to Mondelez and say, would you mind? And what are they going to say? Of course. I remember that Kit Kat, which is owned by two different companies, is Cadbury in Europe and it's Hershey in the U.S. or something like that. But I remember them, whoever it was, saying, or maybe it was Google, said no money exchanged hands.
Right. Right.
Which is kind of, I mean, what else? We gave them a Ferrari, but no money exchange. What? I mean, what? I
It
mean,
could be just a win-win.
in kind.
Yeah. Or, we
They
help
got
them, they help
the
us.
cafeteria got an unlimited supply of
There
Kit
were
Kats.
some Kit Kats.
I bet there
Yeah,
were.
That was
There were Kit Kats
So-
here.
My favorite at Google I/O was the one where they had ice cream sandwich. They had big freezers full of ice cream sandwiches of multiple types, and that was a great
I'd much rather have
conference.
that. Yeah, let's go back to ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah.
Mondelez in June did have some issues. I think probably ransomware issues, cyber attack. It has tech problems, unclear.
There's the deal. Google said, we'll help you with those tech problems.
they need some cyber. That's right.
Yeah. And you supply us with a lifetime supply
Yeah.
of
Cyber
Oreo cookies.
Oreo.
Maersk this week announced that the Petya, I think they got Petya, which was a WannaCry variant, cost them $300 million in lost productivity. $300 million because they didn't have a good backup.
Yeah.
And of course, Merck, the pharmaceutical company in New York City, was shut down for some time due to ransomware. So anyway, Oreo, we'll find out probably tomorrow, right after the eclipse, which we will actually stream that live.
I haven't gotten my eclipse glasses yet, so I guess I'll have something to do tomorrow.
We gotta give Katie a. In fact, all of you, I'll be generous, can have a premium for visiting us.
Nice.
We have eclipse glasses.
Oh,
they are
awesome.
the ones that Amazon sent refunds for, but that I don't think. No, I'm kidding. They're the real deal. They're tested, safety tested. We'll get you some eclipse glasses because I don't think you can go buy eclipse glasses at this point. I think you're out of luck.
I think they were on sale for $250 on
man.
eBay.
What?
Yeah, because
They'll
someone will.
just miss out.
they're 20-cent cardboard.
Yeah.
I'll just go blind.
Yeah.
It's cheaper.
No big deal. Yeah, I was
You know-
reading this story of this guy that actually lost a lot of his vision from the last eclipse, so he felt compelled to warn everybody. So
That's right.
wear
In
your
62,
glasses.
in 62, this guy's his vision has been damaged since 96. So
Yeah.
Katie, here you are. Take your pick. We have some official Google. These are Google Eclipse glasses.
Oh my goodness.
Learn more. This is the Eclipse Mega movie. Do you know about this?
I did not. No.
Google and the UC Berkeley are doing something together. Eclipse
Oh yes.
Mega.movie, if you want to find out about it. What they're doing is asking anybody who's going to be in the totality region, that 70-mile wide band swath. Yeah. It's like the Miss America sash across the United States, going from Oregon. You look good, Mike.
Thanks.
Oregon to Georgia. If you're in the totality, you can contribute Go ahead.
Well,
You can.
No, the great thing is you can't see anything through this.
That's how you test.
Mike and I are looking at each other.
These don't protect you. These show you what it's like if you look at the sun. This is what your eyesight will be like.
This is the virtual reality experience of an eclipse.
So
not very good.
So this is important. If you do have eclipse glasses and you can see something through them, don't wear them. They will not protect you. You should not be able to see a thing unless you look at and I don't think even our studio lights are bright enough. You have to look at really bright lights or go out and check it with the sun. And the sun should not be a bright disk, but a little dim disk in the view. Don't look directly at it with these fake glasses.
The new screensavers yesterday had the best tip ever for doing the eclipse. Don't take pictures of the sun. Take pictures of everything around you.
Yeah.
Because the light will never be like that again until the
7
year
years.
On August 21st,
7 years it's going to
2017.
be. Here's the Google Mega Movie promo video. See, the problem is there's going to be a million pictures like that.
A
of
total
the-
solar eclipse to be
So,
making its way across
unless
the
you
United
really
States.
know what you're doing, that's
It's going to
technically
give
difficult. You got to have a
scientists an
tripod, a
amazing
very
chance to
long
study the
lens.
sun's atmosphere.
You
And
know,
while that's
Scott
making
yesterday on the new
history,
screensaver
there's
said
something else
600
making
millimeter
history, too.
lens.
Yeah.
Really big, expensive lens.
10,000 people will take better pictures of it than you will. So don't bother.
Plus,
you can just download
you
one.
need a very expensive $150 filter, or you will damage your DSLR and maybe your eyes if you're looking through a DSLR.
Yeah.
Even if you look at the pictures of those.
Those can hurt.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
No. Sorry. I'm confused.
The special fake news edition.
Yeah. Don't look at the pictures of the eclipse. They're damaging
It's
your
like the
eyes.
ring. I mean, look at it.
That's right. You'll be the next to die if you look at those eclipse pictures. This is kind of neat. So we'll watch for that. It's if you want to sign up, if you are going to be going somewhere. By the way, if you're not there now, don't go.
Yeah.
If you go to NASA's website, eclipse2017.nasa.gov, they have a traffic map, and all of the places that you would go, don't go. It's jammed.
Yeah.
We had somebody in the studio a couple of days ago saying we're going to go to the Painted Hills in Oregon, and already it was too late. You couldn't because so many people are trying to go there to see this. So go to the website for NASA. They will point you to the Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration, where you will get tips.
So
Do not take photographs while driving is one of the tips. This is my favorite one. Do not try to wear your opaque eclipse glasses while operating a vehicle.
Oh, no. Oh, that's bad. That's
but I
bad
want to
news.
see it.
It says turn your headlights on. Do not rely on automatic headlights. They may not come on. Watch for pedestrians on smaller roads. People may be randomly parking and walking alongside the road in the hours around the eclipse to get the best view. That's right after the thing that says don't stop and walk around to see the eclipse. On the road. And avoid travel during the eclipse. Actually, I'm going to be I have to drive to San Francisco during the eclipse. I'm kind of bummed. I have a radio appearance I agreed to do. Back when we didn't know there would be eclipse.
So won't we see a partial eclipse pretty much everywhere in the U.S.?
Yeah. In fact, NASA's map shows you can click on the map and see what you'll see. Like here in Northern California, it'll be a 77%. Southern California, about 71%.
That's
So
not bad.
almost all of the U.S. will get. And by the way, 71% doesn't, it's not, I mean, that means a little sliver of sun. You're not going to see a whole lot of sun. That's where it's dangerous. That's where you could actually blind yourself by looking too close because it feels like it's dimmer, but it's apparently just as dangerous. When I was a kid, I'm pretty sure I looked at the sun.
Yeah.
You're not blind.
I'm not blind.
You're fine.
The last one was in 1979, I think I read.
Yeah, you weren't even born then.
I wasn't born yet. But
Is that true? I was joking.
Do I look
So
like I was
darn
born in
old.
1979? Okay,
I'm
right.
so darn old.
But actually, I saw a funny clip earlier from ABC News where they talked about the eclipse in 1979. And they're like, the next one is happening in
Yes.
August 2017.
Frank
And
Reynolds.
we're-
It's a great. You know what? I'm going to play that clip. It's a great clip.
Yeah.
Because actually, it's kind of touching clip because of what he says. You
Yeah, at
remember
the
what he
end.
says?
At the end.
Something about peace
You're like,
happening in the world. Yeah, not
Let
so
me-
much.
Oh, bummer.
Let me show you a little bit of Frank Reynolds. It would be kind of fun if he came back, wouldn't it? Is he?
Boy, was I wrong. Yeah.
Is he? Yeah.
To life.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, here it is. Here's the Frank.
A total eclipse of the sun, visible today over North America for the last time in this century.
Dun, dun, ba, bum. And at the very end,
Bring you a complete report on that next eclipse 38 years from now.
oh wait a minute, sorry. Thank you, YouTube, for stepping on the
38 years from now, may the shadow of the moon fall on a world at peace. And ABC News, of course, will bring you a complete report on that next eclipse 38 years from now.
38 years from
everybody
now,
involved in this
1979. Frank Reynolds on ABC. And the last eclipse, the next one's not that far off, 7 years from now in the North America.
Got my glasses by then.
You got some. Do you want the Google ones or do you want the ones from Lunt Solar Systems?
Who do you trust?
I'd go with the Google ones. I'm just saying. These are also wrinkly, and I had read somewhere that if your glasses are wrinkly or have any pinpricks in them, you shouldn't use them. I don't know why wrinkly would be a big deal. But those are not wrinkly.
Okay.
So we don't want to lose you. So
all right.
please.
Yeah. No, I like having my vision.
Yeah.
Vision is good.
Yeah. Google Pixel 2. Should we talk about that? Do you know anything about that?
I wish.
Oh,
I'm
man.
eagerly awaiting.
You're a Pixel user. I'm a Pixel user. Mike, you're a Pixel or you're an iPhone guy?
I have not. I'm an iPhone guy.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to talk about the Essential phone after that.
My Essential phone's on its way. Right. This is going to be a crazy week. The Essential phone. Anybody who pre-ordered it got an email last week. This is Andy Rubin's new company. Already a $1 billion unicorn, right, Katie? Even though they've shipped nothing.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, they've shipped nothing late. So
that's true. They've never been late on a product.
Actually, they are late because Andy Rubin was on the stage at the Recode conference in June. He said it'll be by the end of next month, and then it didn't
I actually
happen.
got to fondle one on Friday.
Did you touch it?
I did. I touched it, Leo.
And when you touched it, did you like it?
I did.
Dieter Bohn in The
touched
Verge had
phone
a
and I
review
liked it.
unit. He said it's the best feeling. phone.
It's quite amazing. The lack of bezel is pretty stunning. The little
By the
notch
way,
is not a big deal.
All phones will be bezel free.
That's true.
Going forward.
That's right.
I'm sure the Pixel will be as small a bezel as they can make it.
Hope so.
I'm pretty sure the iPhone will have not only have no bezel, it will have no frame. It'll just be a floating piece of glass.
Comparing it to the iPhone 7 Plus, I would say that the fit and finish is not quite as good as Apple's. It's very close.
Oops.
The design is better than Apple's. It's more like the iPhone 4 because it's flat on the front, flat on the back, and then there's a real edge. I love that kind of design.
If
and
you
it's titanium on
absent the
outside.
screen and the bezels, the big thumb at the top and the bottom of the iPhone 7 Plus, this is a pretty gorgeous phone. Right? It's all metal. I got the jet black one. It's shiny. And I never put it in a case, which probably was a mistake.
But the roundiness of it is a very Johnny Ives thing, and he's very much into that sort of 70s future
Soft.
thing.
I like it. I like the round
I like the
edges.
harsh
Yeah.
industrial design.
So this is
of
more
the 4.
square, the Essential?
The edge is an edge. It's so good, like it's a flat, and then
you
there's a
feel it.
slight a slight roundiness, and then the edge is you can set it up on its edge or on any edge.
It would stand up?
It would stand up, like the iPhone 4. If you remember that, it had the metal. And but the coolest thing by far is the modularity. It has the little magnetic thing, and they had a bunch of cameras there. And here's the funniest thing that is not getting enough reporting. The little camera that goes on the top has a fan in it, a tiny fan. It's like a mosquito.
Crazy.
And why they have that or why they need that,
must
I have
get
no idea.
hot.
It's a 4K camera. It's a 360 camera. But
So this, I ordered the phone and I didn't realize for $50 more I could have gotten the 360. It's normally going to be $300 more. Should I have?
Yes, you should have that.
Blew it.
Yeah, you blew it. The other thing that was fun is I actually went to Playground Global, which is the incubator that Essential lives in, and Playground Global has a playground.
Well, it should.
It's not global. It's local.
Is it in South Park?
It's in Palo Alto.
Okay, because you can just go out in South Park. There's a playground in South
there
Park,
is.
right?
Oh, I hadn't heard about that.
That's
Now I
the
have to look into
famous
that.
swings where Ev and Jack were sitting on the swings, and Jack said we should call it Twitter.
Well, they've since remodeled South Park, and they have a brand new playground there, which I think is funny because it's all venture firms there now. It's only venture firms.
There's no kids using the playground.
But I've seen some on the weekends.
Jack Dorsey goes out every once in a while and decides to have a little swing. So they said this would come out next week, the Essential phone. We've ordered one. We'll have it as soon as it comes. I made a deal with Jason Howell. If it comes before All About Android, he gets it. If it comes after, I get it. So that we'll be all watching the FedEx truck with great interest.
My prediction is, because I saw the next version as well, they asked us not to take pictures
you
of
did?
it. Yeah, and it was
Well,
really
wait
sweet.
a minute. The next version,
that's why they
it
don't want
hasn't
pictures
even
of it.
come out yet.
It
looks
was a
nice.
prototype. But I'm predicting that this will be the phone. Like, this is the iPhone for Android, essentially.
Really?
It's a high design. It's innovative. They've done a really good job for a 1.0 product. It's a little clunky on the software side, but they're rapidly updating it even as they get closer
They
to
said
ship.
it's pretty pure Android, though,
Yeah.
right? And it will be Android O or no?
That I don't know.
That's
a good
interesting.
question.
I would assume
It's going to come after O as an
Andy
S, but
Rubin is
maybe there'll
separate
be an
now,
update.
so he has to
Yeah.
adapt just like every other manufacturer. Has to
As you
adapt.
know, before he left, he founded both Sidekick and Android. But before he left, he ran Google's robotics division, which is most famous for the big dog, like that dog-like robot. And he had
Boston
one.
Dynamics.
There was one there.
There was one there?
Yeah, he walked out of Google with it. Do they know that he did this?
He took one of the
He's
dogs.
like, most people just take office supplies.
Those are scary.
You'd think you'd hear that one going.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever go to Andy Rubin's house?
I have not been to his
Because
house.
apparently it was heavily automated. There were robots everywhere and the doors. And
Have you been to his wife's restaurant?
well, who's his wife's restaurant?
His wife has a restaurant in Los Altos called Voyageur du Temps.
Huh.
Terrible
Time
name.
Traveler.
Time Traveler, exactly. And it's a exquisite bakery. Absolutely brilliant place. And there's a lot. He and Andy Rubin supposedly designed a lot of the security systems and all that kind of stuff.
I want to go there.
Guy's a whiz kid.
Voyageur.com. Apparently nobody else wanted it. Oh, this site blocked the security threat. Cisco doesn't want me going to Andy Rubin's site, apparently. Okay.
They're jealous.
That's weird.
That is weird.
Google even said that must be the wrong site. That's the wrong
Yeah, I
site.
think it is.
Yeah. Okay.
But it only has 3 stars on Yelp, if we're looking at the right one here.
Well, you know how
That's
Yelpers
true.
are.
There's a lot of angry people on Yelp.
It's expensive.
They didn't have jelly
I
donuts.
have a friend from Google who really likes that restaurant.
Yeah.
For what it's worth,
I
when
wanna
he's
go.
in Los Altos, he
It's
enjoys
a-
the pastries.
I love
It's a
the
very
pastries.
good restaurant. And
How interesting.
Yeah.
So that's phone number 1 this week, but it's not the last phone that will come out this week. On Wednesday, the Galaxy Note 8 from Samsung will be announced. They'll have an event. We're going to cover that and the O stream, so we'll be doing a lot of live coverage on Twit. You can always tune in twit.tv/live to watch our coverage live. I think that's going to be a great phone. I think it's hard to say that this will be the Android phone to get.
the difference is, I think that the Samsung will probably carve out the niche as the most powerful high-end phone.
Plus the stylus.
Exactly, but I do think that the Essential phone will be considered more elegant. It's the design is just beautiful, and it feels minimalist and all this stuff, and then the modularity. Yeah, so
I can't wait.
I think it's going to be the Android phone that most directly competes with the iPhone, and that's my.
I wonder
that's
if
what
I can retroactively go
I'm
back.
not switching from my iPhone,
You-
though.
you
There's,
can't-
like, no chance of that. I've been using the iPhone since it first came out, 2007. And
You were 12 at the time.
No,
All right, I'm
older
just
than
teasing
that.
you now.
But,
All right. I'll get it somewhere.
but,
I'm triangulating. I'm moving in. Okay.
yeah, no, I've been a loyal iPhone user. I have hundreds of apps. I just don't want to deal with switching operating systems or anything.
Well, you're sitting at a table with 3 Android users.
Uh-oh.
I also.
I'm
wait,
iPhone
no,
too. I'm
you're
iPhone
iPhone.
too.
Oh, never mind. In
It's an
fact,
even split.
Even.
you're sitting at a table with 3 iPhone users.
What?
It's because I go both ways, so I count on both teams.
I
So
do have a government iPhone.
Really?
Yes.
The government gave you an iPhone?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm still here with my Pixel.
I love the Pixel,
Trying to
but-
squeeze it.
No wonder our
Keep trying
taxes
to
are so
squeeze it.
high.
In the
It happens.
same way that the Essential is designed, is the elegant phone, the Pixel, even I'm sure the Pixel 2 will be the undesigner phone, right? It's not attractive. It's functional.
It's super functional.
Great camera.
All the software works great.
Pure Android, which is to me
All the security patches.
number 1, yeah. So the FCC filings for at least one of the new Pixels is in. That one, we've talked about this on Twig, was from the little one, the HTC one. They're going to do that squeeze thing that HTC did with their U11. That presumably, when you squeeze the phone, will activate the Google Assistant, which I don't know. How do you feel? You like it? Don't like it?
I think it's discriminatory against people without thumbs. Because if you can't do this, then
You don't have opposable thumbs. How are you holding your phone? Well, that's really interesting. What would we have done without opposable
It
thumbs?
feels like a cheesy kind of a feature to me.
Seems
just
like
to
a gimmick.
squeeze your phone.
I'll take the opposite view.
Yeah.
I can't wait to squeeze my phone. It's going to be great.
You're probably squeezing your phone already and nothing's happening.
I am. That's no good. That's a waste right there. I could have
now,
my
little rubber eyeballs poked out when you squeezed it.
We were talking on Twig about this, about gestures. And of course, one of the things about gestures that's cool is it can extend the vocabulary that you interact with your device. But it's a tricky balance because you want the gesture to be somewhat intuitive. For instance, the pinch gesture, which Apple introduced, but Carnegie Mellon created it first. And I'm using my Surface, and that seems pretty intuitive. You pinch it, and it zooms in, right? And then Google's phones have a shake gesture, which is completely intuitive. If something crashes or you're just not happy with it, you go, and then it immediately pops up a little, would you like to send a bug report? Which I love. That's intuitive. And yet there are a lot of kind of non-intuitive. Motorola.
The Moto X.
Yeah,
you do this to activate the camera.
Activate the camera.
Yeah.
But we came to like it, right?
Yeah.
So the squeeze, I don't know.
I think the problem with it is that very oftentimes we don't have our phone in our hand. It's in our pocket or it's on the table or whatever. I think that the superior method is the AirPod thing, where you just double tap on your AirPods and Siri pops up, and then unfortunately Siri pops up, and that's a problem. I wish the Google Assistant would pop up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, Katie, you say you like the iPhone, but you like Siri? No.
No, I
one
just don't
likes
like
Siri.
voice assistants in general.
Because you were stuck with Siri.
Well, I didn't know. I just don't like them. I don't want to have to talk to a machine.
I love it.
I can Google stuff.
I love talking to my Echo. Do you have an Echo?
No, my parents love theirs though, but
Yeah,
I'm not
old
into
people
that.
like Echoes.
Yeah, I think that might be true.
So I have a theory in this world of appliances. So the rumor is that Facebook is working on an appliance like the Echo. That they have at least two. One with a screen is going to be a ripoff of the Amazon lineup to a certain extent. Yes, but my prediction is that it will have what I call suggestions. So if you use Facebook Messenger right now, there's something called M Suggestions. So you're sitting there having a conversation, and it will chime in and say, hey, well, why don't you go to this restaurant, or why don't you listen to this song, or would you tap here to listen to this music on Spotify? Imagine that with a voice assistant. That means it'd be listening to you all the time.
It'd have to.
It'll be super exactly. It'll be super controversial, but I think that's where we're headed inevitably anyway. And so there are only two products that do that right now. One is Google Assistant on Allo, or as we refer to it on Twig, Google Silo. I love that. And Facebook M Suggestions. Those are the only two places that where it'll listen to conversations, won't listen. It's watching text. This makes it a little better. And then it chimes in and say, hey, what about this? But I think that's where we're going with all these assistants.
It's an interesting thing, of course, because it's also a great way to gather data, right? I mean, Gmail was brilliant because you get this great free mail client, and it can, in the process of just being Gmail, read all your mail. Yeah. So wouldn't it be smart for Facebook to say, hey, sorry, but we have to listen all the time? The question is whether consumers are going to accept that, right? You don't want
I think
something.
there would be a backlash.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, the larger perspective is that this will happen, absolutely will happen, where consumers will happily accept having our assistants listening to us all the time because the benefits will be enormous. It'll happen in 2 years, or it'll happen in 5 years, or it'll happen in 10 years, but it will happen. It's just how fast can we get there? And there's also a philosophical question about whether something's listening. If somebody isn't listening, is anybody listening? No, not really. It's data that is being referred to. And as long as it can't be hacked and whatever, people are going to accept this. Even you will accept this someday.
Maybe. We'll see.
You've got a long life ahead of you. You're born after 1979, so you've got decades.
Too much discussion about my
I
age.
know, no, I'm sorry. It's my fault. We're just a bunch of old men.
Yes.
I've got a startup idea for you if you want.
Which
is not just listening, but Amazon recently got a patent to scan the outside of your house with a drone so that it can target relevant advertising towards you. You can go and look this up. Wow. But then I was talking.
What are they trying to sell you? Aluminum siding?
Oh, I see.
A shotgun to shoot down the drone.
Garden. You have some petunias. Do you need a trowel? Right.
Wow. It's public information. Although Google got in a little trouble because, in fact, in Germany they have to blur out
Germany, yes.
Blurmany.
But we haven't gotten to the startup idea yet, which is people's trash, in theory, is public. So if you really wanted to understand someone, you
a
could,
robot that goes through the trash.
Well,
yeah,
you know who's
and
missing the boat?
Take out their trash for
Waste
them.
management. The and by the way,
trash analytics.
there are only a handful of big companies that do most of the garbage collection in this country, right? Mm-hmm. Waste management is huge.
Right. So they could tell you threw out your cat food.
All they need to do is put some cameras in the conveyor belt.
Right.
They can say, well, we're sorting for recycling.
There you go.
And in the process, wow. You know what? That is brilliant.
Time to order milk.
Is your garbage public domain?
Well, the legal ruling has been once you put it out on the curb, people are allowed to look through it. And so that's why you have to have shredders and all this sort of stuff. And so you could have a deal with one company that's like, we will scan your trash for trash analytics, but then we'll shred it so no one else is able to look through it.
Right.
You know?
I think private investigators dig through trash and all sorts of scary stuff like that. But I mean, these days I don't even print anything out, so there's no documents for me to hide.
Wasn't Silicon Valley built on dumpster diving? Isn't that the process that led Steve Wozniak to?
I've talked to many hackers who, in the early days, what they did was they were looking for telephone company manuals when they were originally doing the phone hacking, blue boxes and the like, and that's how they figured out how to interact with the network. They would get old manuals in dumpster dive. Wow,
those are the days.
So well, it's funny because I searched for trash analytics, and I found that Google has a lot, but it's a different. It's in Google Analytics. It's a trash can in Google Analytics. It's a different kind. So does somebody have a patent, you said?
So Amazon got a patent for drones to scan customers' homes
but not
and
the
target them
trash
with
yet.
advertising. So public domain. Now you can't patent that, but who will be first in trash analytics?
Wow. I got to call Jason Calacanis. We got to get we got to get to work on this. That's brilliant. I'm not kidding.
Well, you see exactly all the packaging.
Yeah.
You know, you see exactly what people buy, which is the highest segment value of what people are doing.
Jason should launch a newsletter immediately called Inside Trash.
So I'm curious how normal people, I already gave up all sense of privacy.
Yeah.
And I don't mind. And you know what? I'm kind of wallowing. It's like, fine, I don't care. I get better ads. It's not really an invasion of privacy. I mean, there's a lot of people think of the moral hazard of maybe an insurance company will decide that will count the number of liquor bottles.
Too many Oreos.
Or Oreo packages in your trash and not but that's not happened. Yeah. And I don't think it will happen because I think insurance companies don't really care because they expect you to be honest on that questionnaire and they'll ask you, do you smoke, do you drink, do you eat Oreos? And and they actually hope you lie because if you do, they can deny you payment because we know you smoked. And
you need another startup for people to come and swap your trash with trash that looks healthy. I'm sorry.
It'd be the same. You know, the same people sell pee for
dope
drug tests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be a new sideline.
Oh man!
Gosh.
I shall pee in trash. What do you want? You can have either one. Maybe that's the guy in the Capitol Music
for
Bill.
free.
We shall pee. We shall trash. Whatever you want to protect your privacy. American Waste Management's Houston, Texas. I think they're publicly held in the New York Stock Exchange. I think Katie, I want you to get right on this for your equity podcast.
We don't talk about trash.
But you should.
It's a show about the tech business. So we talk about tech stuff.
This is brilliant.
It's data.
Yeah.
This is
just
brilliant.
data.
They're already doing this in recycling centers. I know they have cameras over the streams and it would just be a little bit more analytics, and they would know. You would even do it. You could even say just from this street.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to say, and we'll send a blimp over that street.
Right. We'll collect your trash for free. All we ask is the data we get from it.
Then you could have a fixture for the toilet. Yes, the Oreos again. This is really bad.
If Waste Management doesn't do this, I'm starting. Well, actually, I don't want to get in that business.
Their stock's up 16%.
You see what I'm saying?
Just from this conversation.
Trash is a big business.
All right, Essential Phone, Pixel. I'm excited. I'm going to hold out. LG's making the big one. Supposedly HTC's making the little one. Your nodding does not indicate in any way
allegedly
you know anything. You just read the same stories I have. I think LG this was an interesting kind of sort of thing. Is the LG has announced a new V30 phone, and a number of people played with it. Said if this is what the next Pixel is like, this is going to be awesome. Bezel-less design. A very interesting camera, multiple camera modules. The V30 is imminent. It is kind of how it works, right? Is the company that like the HTC's basing its version of the Pixel kind of on the U11.
I think it kind of depends a little bit.
Is Google maybe telling them more what they want, and they're just going to manufacture
recently?
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, anyway, would be a bad day to buy a smartphone.
Yes.
Wait just a little bit because Apple's got 3 weeks or less before Apple's big announcement, and I'm very interested in what Apple's going to do. All right, we'll watch with interest as all of this happens. Let's take a little break. Got a great in-studio team. It's really fun to have all three of you. Katie Roof is here from TechCrunch. She's a senior writer there and hosts the Equity podcast. Katie_Roof.
There's another Katie Roof.
How dare she?
Well, actually, I originally had the Raise the Roof handle.
That's even better.
Nice.
But I deleted Twitter, and then I had to join it when I became a reporter.
Me too. I've deleted Twitter. How many of you here, show of hands, have deleted and then rejoined? Many.
Yeah,
just you and me. Have you too? Yeah.
Long ago, yeah.
I deleted it because I thought, there's going to be copyright trademark confusion. And I was kind of mad at Ev that he named it Twitter because we preceded them.
You guys beat them to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
and Leo was once the #1 user on Twitter.
I was.
Really?
You want to know when I was #1 on Twitter, how many followers I had? 5,000.
That's all it took.
That's all it took. That's all. And then Kevin Rose and I were in a battle.
Yeah.
And he finally beat me with 5,001. I was Now I think there are other people with more. I've heard. I may be wrong. Yeah. They're all bots. Nobody has more than 5,000, really. Yeah. Mike Elgan's also here. I'm so excited about you, gastronomad.net. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. And we will miss you. Wait, so how long are you going to go?
Till November.
Oh, that's not long.
Yeah, it's not too long.
You got a grandkid here. You got to come back a lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she's actually going to be with us.
She's going to Barcelona?
She's going to be in Barcelona.
Princess Squishy Face?
Right, and also Provence. She's going to be with us the whole time. So
that lucky kid.
Oh, yeah.
She's not even a year old yet, and already
That's
she's
right.
better.
Hashtag Globe Toddler. That's what we're using.
I like it. I like it. And I am so honored, really, to have a member of the federal government here today, acting administrator for the United States Digital Service, really doing
great to be here.
Good work, important work, Matt Cutts. So nice to have you here.
And we welcome more people who want to join.
Yeah, and we'll use this as an opportunity to get people to go to usds.gov, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's like usds.gov/join.
That's right.
Clever. You guys know how you know a little bit about SEO, right? Yeah, you've heard of these things. Matt for years did the webmaster videos for webmaster for Google. They were so good. You're missed there. Loved those. Our show today brought to you by PayPal Working Capital. PayPal knows running a business is complicated. Takes a lot of your time. Requires a lot of money to start a business, doesn't it? PayPal Working Capital is giving you an opportunity to give your cash flow a boost with a $5,000 business loan. PayPal Working Capital makes your life as a business owner easier. They don't require a credit check. That saves time, and applying will not affect your credit score. They can provide one affordable fixed fee versus periodic interest. That makes it a lot easier to plan. They offer flexible repayments that are automatically deducted as a percentage of sales. That's kind of cool, right? So you don't have to pay more than you can afford. For a limited time, when you accept $50,000 in payments with PayPal, you get pre-selected automatically for a $5,000 business loan. No credit check or personal guarantee required. By the way, I found out we qualified. That was awesome. To participate, all you got to do is sign up for a PayPal business account and start accepting payments within 60 days. We accept PayPal payments as a tip or our tip jar. So podcasters, this is actually it would be a great tip for you. Set it up as a tip jar. And when you process at least $50,000 in payments, which won't take that long, you can apply for your PayPal working capital within 240 days. If you're approved, $5,000 automatically deposited into your PayPal account. So boost your cash flow with a $5,000 business loan from PayPal Working Capital. It's easy to do. Just set it up, a PayPal business account, and start accepting payments. Visit paypal.com/twit to learn more. Additional terms and conditions apply to the 550 promotion, and you can find out more at paypal.com/twit. We thank PayPal. For years, PayPal made it possible for us to do what we do here, and we're very grateful to them. And I think it's great that they're empowering.
It's very timely,
generation.
too, because if you're going to get the new iPhone, you're going to need that loan.
You're going to need the $5,000. Holy cow. What the rumor is over $1,000.
Yeah.
But, I don't think this market is that price sensitive at that high end. They'll still offer the 7S and the 7S Plus, but I think that there are tens of millions of people, it's almost sad to say, who will gladly fork out. I bet you're one of them, Katie.
I will. I'm going to get it.
Right?
I think.
It's a work expense.
It's just, well, first of all, it is your main computer, right? So paying $1,000 for a computer is not that outrageous. It's your main computer these days. It's one you use far more than any other. The Register calls them your fondle slab.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I recently invested a great deal in an iPad. This is a 10.5 inch with 512 gigs with the SIM card thing. So
you got the 512.
It's almost a $1,200.
That's
iPad.
a real computer. The 512 gigs of storage.
Well, with iOS 11, it is. And I got the AirPods, I got the keyboard, the $100 keyboard, I got all everything because this is now my main computer.
That's all you use.
I use my MacBook Pro for specific things that haven't caught up to the iPad yet. So MailChimp, a couple of other things for designing things. But mostly I use this, and I'm trying to get off the phone as well. I'm trying to get to the point where I don't actually need a phone.
Boy, if you could use that for the phone,
yeah.
I guess you could with Skype or FaceTime.
When I'm abroad, I'm not using the phone network anyway, or I'm using a local SIM card.
What do you use? Use Line? Use Tango?
So for all my family are on iPhone, so I use FaceTime audio for regular calls with my family, and for other people, I use Google Voice. Yeah, I use Google Voice.
And you give out a Google Voice number, that rings your iPad.
Exactly, yes. Well, I don't want it to ring. I don't answer my phone. Call me, go ahead and call me, but leave a message. And then if I want to make a call to somebody who doesn't have FaceTime, I just use Hangouts.
Now, how does that work, though, if you're overseas? I thought Hangouts was only U.S. and Canada. You can do outbound.
No, it works.
International.
It works great internationally.
Because you're a U.S. account.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it works fine, and it's great, and it's free or cheap.
I actually bought a Fi SIM for my iPad.
Yeah.
And that gives you the data.
Yeah, that's nice.
And it's at the same price. It's part of your regular phone account.
And you can pause your stuff. So if you're not going overseas for a while, you're like, fine, I'll just put it in the drawer for 3 months.
That was free. I actually thought that was a really good travel tip. Yeah. Just order an extra SIM and put it in something.
Right.
It's not for phone, though. It's only for data.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But so far, so good. I'm getting there. I think within 6 months.
Are you using iOS 11?
Yes.
And so you did the beta, the public beta.
I did. But I think I'll get to the point where no phone, no laptop, 100% iPad, and I think that'll be great. But wait, Mike, you might say, that's ridiculous.
That's insane.
What about checking Facebook? What about doing?
You can do all that.
I think we've reached the point where we're too addicted, we're too distracted. Our phones are actually problematic for us now, and using a cell phone the way we use them is like driving to the store that's 1 block away.
Right.
It is easier. But you really should walk.
Right.
Right. And
actually, I don't even do that. I mean, when I was living in New York, I would order stuff from my phone.
Instacart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it would be like
there would be like
a grocery store on my corner, and I still did it.
Right.
Well, living in New York is not good for you because everything is delivered.
I can confirm that.
Yeah, you don't have to ever step out of your apartment.
That's right.
And you may not want to.
That's right. But iOS 11 is a whole new ballgame for using an iPad as a real computer. Of course, I don't really do real work.
I would agree with you, and I'm doing the same thing. I have the 10.5 and put iOS 11 on it. But I do think that Apple's got to really kind of kick developers into making the equivalent of desktop apps for iOS 11.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But I think the first step is iOS 11. I think iOS 11 is going to change a lot of things in the industry. First of all, it's going to make augmented reality a really big part of our everyday. Lots of apps will have augmented reality. And the second thing is iOS 11 on an iPad is really going to change how people use their iPads, which I think that will be the trigger for companies to produce iPad apps that are real apps. And they'll be able to charge for them because people like the two of us, I mean, we'll pay anything because we're like stars in our
anything.
eyes.
Maybe not anything, but
you're less price sensitive, right? I mean,
that is true. It's almost inelastic demand.
It is.
An economics term.
It is.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely a loyal iPhone and clearly Mac user.
You're using, I'm surprised, a MacBook Air.
Well, I like it small because I don't want to carry around a heavy laptop.
And you're mostly writing, so the screen resolution, it's the lowest screen resolution Apple still offers, but it's fine for writing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's super light.
Yeah.
I noticed, though, you have a physical object blocking your camera. You have a little shutter.
I mean, I'd rather just not have that there. I mean, I can turn it on.
Yeah.
And then turn it
See,
off.
I'm the opposite. I put more cameras everywhere. I'm never off camera anywhere. I don't know why. It'd be silly. Wouldn't it be funny if I had a shutter on the camera on my laptop? That'd be crazy, Tom. It's really an interesting market. I am not that sanguine about where Apple is going with its laptop strategy, particularly with Macintosh strategy, particularly. It seems as if they've just kind of stopped making interesting Macintoshes.
Yes, right. And there's not much more.
They haven't even updated your beautiful Air. It would be so nice if they put a Retina screen on a MacBook Air, but they don't even bother. And instead, they put the stupid Touch Bar.
Yeah.
I feel like they've given up. What they really hope is exactly your vision of the future, which is that everybody will stop buying those darn Macintoshes and start buying more iPads. I'm sure the margin's better on those iPads.
I think the next thing they're going to do is copy Microsoft and have a gigantic tablet like this one.
This is nice.
This really should be, Apple really should have something like this.
They don't want to do touch, the problem is they won't ever do it on Mac OS, but they don't. The point is they want everybody to go to iOS.
That's right.
That's the future.
Yep, that's right. They're just too slow and gradual for my taste. Yeah. But I think this is the beginning, and I think they'll get there. But in the meantime, an iPad is a great single computer, and it seems really, really expensive. But if you compare that with the combined cost of MacBook Pro and an iPhone, which is considered normal,
it's funny because I'm struggling with this. I do what you're doing. Got a keyboard case.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to put pro software on there so I can do some of the photo editing. Would be a big one for me. Yeah. And I think we're getting close.
Yep.
And on the other end, I'm using Linux. Right. And because I don't want to use Mac OS anymore, and I don't want to be limited to my hardware choices, so I'm buying Windows PCs. Mm-hmm. You're nodding as if this is something you do.
Well, Chromebook, Linux.
The Chromebook is
Crouton,
very similar.
All that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Chromebook is Linux. It's just a kind of locked down, but very secure, very robust, very reliable version. Do you use a Chrome? But you don't. You must use a real computer at work, right?
We have real computers
for web design.
Required to use.
You really wouldn't want to use a Chromebook for web design. You wouldn't want to use. I guess somebody called me the other day. She said, "I'm a web designer. I love Coda 2. Panic software is really pretty cool. Web design software for the iPad." She says, "Is there anything like that on a Mac?" And I thought, well, we've come a long way where you're looking for software on your Mac that is as good for web designing as the tool you're using on your iPad.
There's actually a lot of that out there. The mobile version of the web is better in a lot of ways than the desktop version of the web. There are a lot of apps that only work through apps. There is no web service, right? There's lots of stuff like that out there. I mean, it's things as simple as Snapseed, which is Google's best photo editing package, is unavailable on the desktop completely. And I use the iPhone version on my iPad, and it's still the best thing out there.
So there's one more event coming up soon. Intel's going to announce its 8th generation processor. Didn't we just get the 7th generation processor? Coffee Lake is about to come out.
As in lake of coffee?
Doesn't that sound nice?
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound delicious?
I don't know. Tea sounds better to me.
I think Venti is probably big enough.
Tea Lake. Well, we're on KB Lake right now. Before that was Sky Lake, and next is Coffee Lake.
Is there an ice lake in there somewhere?
I can't. They actually did leak out the next one. I think Tom's Hardware Anand. I think it's Anand.
That it's supposed to be Ice Lake.
Ice Lake. You're right.
Do you have a Chrome extension that changes ice to coffee? Maybe.
That's Anantech. Yeah, they got the. So the 8th generation is going to be a bigger jump than the 7th generation. The Coffee Lake is still 14 nanometers. They call it 14 nanometers plus. Like, I don't know what that means. It's a plus-sized 14. I don't know what that means. But the big jump is going to be the 10 nanometers. But the reason I bring that up is Intel's not slowing down. It's acting as if desktop computing is here to stay. We're building $10 billion fabs. We're creating a 10 nanometer process. We're all in. Are they nuts? Given what you just said, isn't everything going to go ARM?
Not everything. I mean, everything is going to the cloud, and the cloud is based on really powerful servers and things like that.
Oh, so servers we do.
Yeah. And they're
so that's Intel's future is servers.
Yeah, I think that the average consumer. I don't think the average consumer is going to do. Phones are going to be with us for a long, long time, but these phones are going to have to get super processor intensive, and I'm not sure that what you're talking about here with Intel, that's not something that's going to affect mobile.
They have never been able to do mobile successfully.
No, it feels like Intel really missed the boat because they were concentrating on AMD, and they're like, ah, we're leaving you in the dust, but they completely missed all of the stuff with Qualcomm and a lot of the mobile stuff.
Well, my prediction is that augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, all the realities, which, by the way, will all be mixed up together. They won't be separate things. They'll all be kind of like individual apps will do it all, is going to be the biggest thing in technology since the internet itself came onto Windows browsers in the 90s. It's going to change absolutely everything. It's going to change how we perceive the world. It's going to change everything. And no processor is fast enough for this stuff. We're going to have to be pumping so much raw graphics compute power into all of our devices because we're always going to want more of this stuff. And again, this is going to start with ARKit shortly.
I'm
within
surprised
a couple of
you're
years.
so sold on AR. What is the application you think? You said AR will be everywhere. What is the application?
So all the stuff so initially because of Apple.
Besides Pokemon Go.
Well, see, that's Pokemon Go is.
Poor man's AR.
Exactly. It doesn't actually place it in a specific place in space. It's like GPS, right? Yeah. So the first thing to understand is that for a while it's going to be on tablets and phones. That's where AR is going to live for a year or two.
Well, the iPhone, the next generation iPhone primarily.
Exactly. But ARKit is really going to change.
There's a lot of speculation that this 10.5-inch iPad Pro was over-designed. Yeah. It's clearly a lot faster.
Yes,
it was a big jump in speed.
Powerful.
They've got different kinds of cameras. That it was over-designed because they see this as the AR.
And that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons to choose an iPad instead of like a Chromebook or something like that, because
we'll look back and say, oh, those Chromebooks, they can't do augmented reality.
They can't because they don't have a camera. The Microsoft
bought that.
The Microsoft ones do, by the way. They have a camera that points that way.
Right.
But MacBooks don't. They only have a camera that points that way, and you can't do it. You can't do augmented reality with that, not even on the table. So it's going to really be a big deal. But all of that work that's going to be done on
what's the application?
The application is glasses, Leo. Glasses are going to replace phones.
A long way from that.
We're 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah. Okay. Big problems. You got battery. You got processor.
The iPhone itself is 10 years old, Leo. It's 5 or 6 or 7 years is not very far into the future.
Yeah.
Right. It's coming up very soon, and the content and the
this is the guy who used to wear Google Glass, though, right? Remember this?
I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I still defend Google Glass.
I think there is a barrier, a fashion barrier.
Now, exactly.
I'm wearing
Katie,
glasses,
you're wearing glasses, and if they could do that, you would buy them.
Sure.
But we're a long way from what Mike just described, looking like regular.
10 years from now, you go to the optometrist and you get your frames. And
I'm all
smart or not smart, and you'll say smart, and it'll just be a normal
smart or not
thing.
smart.
I like that you are an optimist about it.
That's what they say about watches.
Having seen the
too,
VR
smart
cycle
watches.
a couple times, I'm like, we'll see. But it's good that you are, thinking about, yes, this will eventually happen.
I wrote a column a year ago called AR and the Demon Haunted World. And it's a reference to Carl Sagan's book.
Yeah.
But basically, one of the things that I predicted is in the future, they'll have your loved ones, you'll create a virtual version of your loved ones to be standing either where they died or at their gravesite or something like that.
God!
And if you're wearing the glasses or have the AR, they'll be standing there waving
what
at
are you doing there?
Oh my God.
And that psychologically, this apparition will be indistinguishable from ghosts, right? What's the difference, basically?
Right. It is ghosts.
So now a Japanese company is doing that. For $4.50 a month, they'll provide your loved ones standing at their gravesite or some other place, talking to you through augmented reality.
It's ghost hosting.
But think of
This has gone too far.
Think of the world of think of children. You want an electronic babysitter. You're going to give them a pair of glasses, and Goofy and Mickey are going to be dancing all around them.
God, this is a nightmare.
The future's going to be a confusing place.
You're describing Blade Runner. This is not a good world.
Describe our world to people in 1979. They would say, "Oh my God, I'm going to kill myself."
Well,
this
thank God I'll
horrible.
be dead by then. That's all I can say.
There's one bright silver lining to all of this. I'll be dead by then.
That's right. I will be here.
I have to say, Apple is doing the right thing, though, because ARKit, they are getting it out there. Developers are jumping on it. It's fairly easy. If you do Unity, it's easy enough to incorporate AR. Here, if you just look hashtag, made with ARKit. Here's another one. Get ready. This is Ridgeline Labs, creators of Rover, the AR VR dog game. Do you have sound on me? I'm not hearing it. Maybe there's no sound. So this is your virtual pet. Look, I'm going to throw a virtual stick. Rover will go catch the virtual. Oh my God, is this stupid? If you're going to make a virtual reality dog, make it run faster, for crying out loud. It's taking forever. I ain't got time for this. Now, is that satisfying? No.
No,
Remember the Tamagotchi
Yes.
nano pets?
This is like
they've
nanopets.
come a long way.
Well, you're right. You're probably the age that you did nanopets as a kid, right?
Yes.
Neopets. That's what my daughter did. Was Neopets. It was a website you created these, and then I had a Tamagotchi and the nanopets and the little thing you put on your
little keychain
fob. Yeah.
At least you don't have to clean out the litter.
But they were all the rage. They really were all the rage. But I think a real pet gives you a lot more than this gives you.
Yeah.
Don't you? And by the
pile
way,
of poop, for example.
look at this
gives you a lot
picture.
more.
This is something weird is going on with this dog. This doesn't look healthy.
That's not good.
That's what's going to happen, though.
you
It's going to
forget to feed
terrify
it.
people.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining haptic feedback for your dog where you have a little bit of fur that will do something while
If you
you're
can make it
inside.
purr, you might have a business. You can phone could purr.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Anywho, you're right, but I'm glad I'll be dead by then. I'm sure you're right. It's just going to, but Ghost in the Shell, where the whole city that they're in is like alive with things moving. And
Yes.
And it's kind of, I don't know, you're right, though.
It's dystopian looking.
Imagine if you came here from 100 years ago. It would seem like that.
It's like another dimension that is available to you at all times that you can just throw on the glasses and you can see the fourth dimension. And you can populate it with all kinds of different things. And I just think it's going to be super compelling. And we'll seamlessly move from virtual to augmented reality and back. We've already seen apps in ARKit that do that.
We're going to enter a long period of uncanny valley.
Yes.
Where this stuff will seem creepier than it seems appealing.
Yeah.
I think it could be decades. It could be 100 years before what the real promise of this is, which is that dog would be indistinguishable from a real dog, that your parents at the grave would be indistinguishable from your parents, that it would be almost reality. But before that happens, you're going to have this awful uncanny valley where it's just creepy.
Well, this is the challenge of the developers. I mean, the first use will be turn-by-turn directions. You'll see the arrows in space.
Kind of a
around
heads-up
the corner.
display. I wouldn't mind that.
It's going to be that's going to be a beautiful way to walk around a city that you're unfamiliar with. The second thing will be face recognition, and you met this person 3 years ago at a conference.
That I'm looking forward to.
That'll be cool too. But the most interesting thing is we don't know. Like when they launched the iPhone in 2007, could we have predicted all the stuff that you can do with smartphones? Like nobody could have predicted that stuff. So nobody can predict what will come about because of augmented reality. But we can assume that it's going to be amazing, surprising, and useful. There'll be tons of choice. It'll be on all the platforms, and it's going to be pretty great. And I think we'll figure out the goofy glasses problem. And once we do that, it's going to go totally mainstream.
I actually need this because I have a handicap that is, I think others have, called prosopagnosia, face blindness. If I'm not looking at your face, I can't remember your face. And so I often meet people. It just happened the other day. I met you before, the other hour, a minute ago. But I kind of don't remember people's faces at all. So this kind of augmented reality.
I might have that too. I'm sorry for anyone I've forgotten.
Well, but we meet a lot of people, right? Yeah,
Right,
that's part of our job.
Fair, exactly. I go to networking events every night.
But
so
I
don't-
can't even see the face of my kids.
Oh.
I mean, I can't.
Wow.
Can you see your mom's face?
Yeah.
If you close your eyes, you see it?
No, I can.
And like
see it. So, okay, maybe I don't
in
have
detail.
an actual
You don't
disability,
have what
but I would like an
literally.
excuse.
Yeah, it's a good excuse. Just say, I'm sorry, I have prosopagnosia. I don't remember you. I never will see you again. So goodbye.
Augmented reality could say this guy has.
I know. That's
whatever
Katie
that
Roof.
is.
You worked with her on Twitter. What are you, crazy? Would be nice.
Tap here to talk to your psychologist.
Yeah, that would be nice. This is your mother. This is your daughter.
She gave you life.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize I had this. I just thought this was normal.
Yeah.
And then, but I don't recognize people all the time. And now I realize I actually have a clinical thing. I think I'm more auditory. I can hear people's voices, and I can recognize audio like that. I know it's you immediately, but if your face, I couldn't. I can't. I don't even know what you look like now, Matt. I'm not looking at you. I have no idea what you look like.
He has that Matt Cutts look.
Matt Cutts, acting administrator for the USDS. So great to have you, U.S. Digital Service. Big group in Washington, D.C., making tech work better for the American people. God bless you for the job you do. Katie Roof, making people understand what the hell's going on in finance over there at TechCrunch, her equity podcast. She's also a senior writer. Do you cover a variety of stuff or mostly just finance?
Well, no, I cover a variety of things. I mean, sometimes I do videos about apps. I could really do anything. One thing about TechCrunch is we don't have narrow beats.
Nice.
We're kind of allowed to do anything as long as it's tech related and hopefully also news. It has to be true as well. No fake news. But really, there's a lot of flexibility with what we report on compared to other organizations.
If I say Jeff Immelt, can you see his face?
Yeah, but
he may have an important job soon. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Also, Mike Elgan is here. He is traveling the world in search of great food.
That's right.
Gastronomad.net and writing for Computer World.
Computer World, Fast Company.
Yeah. And as you already can tell if you're listening, one of the most astute and I think really sharp guys in this business who kind of we talk about the events. You seem to understand kind of more what it means. I think he's very good at doing that. It's nice to have all of you here. Our show today brought to you by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans, best lender in the country. All right, I have to admit, the last home loan I got almost 4 years ago was not from Quicken Loans. It was from that big bank, when the Stagecoach Bank, the one. And that was it was a terrible experience. So it took us almost 4 months to get a loan. They kept coming back. They wanted more paperwork. I thought I don't know what this was. I thought it was because of the 2008 collapse or whatever. But they wanted more document. We almost lost the house because it took so long. Fast forward, the year is 2017. The best lender in the country, Quicken Loans, and I can say that because if you go to their website, you'll see they win every year for the last 7 years, #1 in J.D. Power's customer satisfaction survey for primary mortgage origination. I mean, they really are the best, and for mortgage servicing. So they really are the best. These guys have created a product for geeks that lets you apply for a loan entirely online. You can do it on your phone. You don't have to go through any paperwork or anything because they have trusted relationships with all the financial institutions. So they say, it's kind of wild if you do it. They say, okay, well, this is your bank account, right? And you say, yeah. Because, they have all that information. Once you give them the basics, they fill in all the blanks for you. You don't have to fill in the form. They just do it for you. And then they say, okay, based on all this, and they do this in a minute, based on all your income, your assets, your credits, here are the loan options for you. You can choose the term. You can choose the rate. This is what we offer you. It is amazing. It is simple to use. It's completely transparent, so you know exactly what you're getting. You're going to get the confidence you need when you're buying a home or refinancing. And the thing is, you can do that not months, not weeks, not days, in minutes. You could do it at an open house. You could do it during the commercial breaks on Game of Thrones, which there are none. Okay, so apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. You could do it in between battle scenes. Let's put it that way on Game of Thrones. Go to rocketmortgage.com/twit2, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, and MLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. That's a new URL, so make a note of it. Bookmark it in your browser, rocketmortgage.com/twit2. I know you're not buying a house right now. You're listening to Twit, but the next time you are, if you have a bookmark, you'll go right there, rocketmortgage.com/twit2. We thank them for their support. We have a winner. The rose goes to Jeff Immelt, former chairman of GE. We're talking about actually it's only rumor, but it comes from Kara Swisher at Recode. She knows everything. The next CEO of Uber.
Yeah, and I had sources on this as well. I wound up writing about this for TechCrunch. Kara definitely broke the news here. But yeah, I mean, it's not for sure decided on, but
the board likes him, and that's a problem because the board doesn't like a lot of people. Right?
Well, the board has a lot of issues right now. I don't even know where to begin there, but yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, I did hear from one source that he was a little disappointed because he didn't think that this would be the person they would have picked had they not been in this situation. But given the situation, he thought it would be a good choice going forward. Another source was fairly excited about Jeff. So both of them felt that this wasn't totally decided, but it looked like they were getting close at Uber. So
he's not a woman. I think early on everybody was saying, well, to solve the problems Uber has, you got to make the next CEO a woman. Do you agree?
I mean, I kind of have mixed feelings there. I mean, sure, I would have been excited to see a woman in that job, but ultimately, I think they should pick the best person for the job. And I think they had conversations.
Who wants the job?
That's the other problem there. Is they have a lot of complications here. I think some of the best women for the job didn't want the job.
Had no interest in the job.
There were reports about Meg Whitman, and then there were reports that Travis, the former CEO, he was telling people that he was Steve Jobs in it and that he might come back. I mean,
but the board
I don't know.
was quick to quash that, by the way.
Right,
they immediately said,
right.
no, he's not. Travis Kalanick is not coming back.
Sure, but he's on the board.
There was a little bit of this kind of manipulation going on with the shareholders and the employees.
Right, totally. I mean, he's on the board, so he still does have some voting power, and he still has his friends in the company who are very loyal to them. And I think some CEOs, or actually many CEOs that would be qualified for this job, wouldn't want it. They wouldn't want someone like that kind of watching over their shoulder. And I don't know if he's hoping that they'd fail, but something is going on there. And so Benchmark clearly didn't like it either. That's their early investor. And so there's a lawsuit there.
Yeah. So it's interesting because when Satya Nadella became CEO at Microsoft, everybody said, oh, you don't want that. Ballmer and Gates are on the board. Imagine. But he made it work. In fact, forced Ballmer out. But he made it work, and he really transformed Microsoft. So you could look at that and say, well, no, I think somebody. So Immelt was the CEO at GE.
Right.
Was he a good CEO?
Well, the stock didn't do well at all under his tenure there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he seems to be a well-respected business person. It's a very large company that he was running.
Sure. He's amazing.
$223 billion market cap, so it's like 3 Ubers. So, I mean, I guess from that perspective, he's been running, a giant company.
He stepped down. He ran it from 2001. He stepped down in June. He was there for 16 years.
Yeah. So
he got them through the financial crisis. Oh, gosh. Don't want to hear video from you.
I hate autoplay.
Thank you for not doing that at TechCrunch. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I think that there's a lot of mixed sentiment about him. Obviously, he was there for a long time. So
he succeeded Jack Welch, who was a legend.
Sure. And so, But yeah, I mean, what I did hear from one person involved with the company was that he didn't think that his background was the right background for a fast-growing technology company.
It's very different running a blue chip,
like conglomerate,
long-time conglomerate.
Uber's not even public, right?
No, GE was public.
No, Uber is not public.
Uber's not public.
It's a startup.
But they want to be. I mean, they've said all sorts of things under Travis that they didn't want to be. But I mean, ultimately, it's paper money until there's an exit. Right. And so unless someone wants to buy them for almost $70 billion, I think they're going to have to eventually go public.
What do you need to? Who do they need? What do you need to put Uber back on the track? You've got lawsuits against Google's Waymo. You've got the shareholder lawsuit or the investor lawsuit from Benchmark. You've got what some say is a toxic bro culture. And yet, I have to say, it's many, everybody. But I have to say, I still use Uber. I'm ashamed sometimes to admit it. I like Uber. So you have a brand that's very successful. Of course, it loses money on every ride. It subsidizes the majority of the cost of that ride, so it's not a big money maker. This is a tough job.
The real business of Uber is self-driving cars. So the current drivers are simply there.
That's what the market is.
To be meat robots until they can.
That's what the investors are. That's the decacorn is because not because of the ride sharing thing, but because someday. That's a big...
The whole model...
cut on costs when that happens. But, it's sad for
because
the
costs are drivers.
Although I think they did say at one point that they're never going to get rid of all of the drivers. But...
We'll keep 3 drivers.
We're going to wait till they die out.
We're
not going to replace any drivers who leave.
The thing to keep in mind, though, this isn't about replacing the current world of livery drivers. This is about replacing the current world of automobiles. The future of self-driving cars is going to be an Uber-like model. It's going to be...
Is it going to be Uber? Is it going to be Waymo? Is it going to be Apple? Is it going to be, let's not forget Ford, General Motors. I mean, there's a lot of companies that are probably better positioned, frankly, than Uber to do this. Uber is a taxi company right now, just because they have, they've done R&D. They don't. Certainly, Google has a huge lead in autonomous vehicles, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
I don't know why Uber is seen as being like.
Well, because they brain drained Carnegie Mellon and took some of the brightest minds in self-driving AI to come in and work on their company. So this is one of the biggest challenges right now, is that so many companies are doing self-driving cars that the number of people who specialize in the many different areas of technology are really hard to get. And Uber's got a lot of them.
Here's the problem. Sure, but they don't have enough runway to do it. In other words, they're going to run at the burn rate they've got, which is billions of dollars a year. They don't have enough time to create a sustainable self-driving car ecosystem. They can't turn that corner. I don't think they have what it takes to turn that corner. They may have the people, they may have the PhDs, but it's a lot more than that to make that happen.
Yeah.
Including, by the way, regulatory issues. And Uber's not
legal issues. They have a lawsuit with Waymo.
Yeah.
Google's self-driving car.
Well, that's
division,
one problem.
Yeah.
Lewandowski, I think it's now kind of accepted, took Waymo's intellectual property. We don't know. That's the suit.
That's an ongoing lawsuit.
It's an ongoing suit.
The move to self-driving cars is comparable to the move from horse and buggy to automobiles. And during that transitionary period, there was all kinds of weird political, crazy, legal liability. There was all kinds of stuff that now do not matter at all. And a company like Tesla can come along decades after the automobile giants had already established their core,
walk right in.
and is walking right in, is probably going to succeed. Right. I don't think there's any reason to believe that Uber will or won't be dominant in the self-driving car industry.
Well, that's the problem.
Exactly.
If they were a lock, I'd say, well, they're worth it. But they're not a lock. They're far from a lock. In fact, I think they're going to have real problems because they're going to run out of money. And I don't know, how many times can you go back to the well to these investors and say, hey, another $20 billion, and I think we might have this. You can't.
Yeah, they've already gotten money from Saudi Arabia and all over the world, so they're going to have to keep looking for rich people. No, I think eventually they're going to have to go public, but it might be a down round IPO, which is what we're seeing now when they go public beneath their last market valuation. Their market cap will be likely smaller, but we'll see. I mean, these days, companies like Square did that, and then they eventually did well in the stock market.
Yeah.
So it's no longer considered the end of the world if you do a down round IPO, as long as you build a great public company.
A down round is where you were by the venture capitalists said to be worth $100 billion. Then you go out to the markets and they say, no, you're worth 80 billion or 70.
So, yeah, exactly. So I mean, Uber was said to have last raised a $68.5 billion valuation. That's often rounded up to 70. It's really hard to justify that right now. I mean, I personally thought it was always hard to justify that valuation, especially with all of this happening. So if they went public today, I mean, there's almost no way that they would be valued at that. But maybe if they wait a couple of years, they'll grow into it. I mean, really, it has to do with the public investors.
What's their runway now? Do we know what their burn rate is and how much time they have?
Shared some of those quarterly
numbers. It's not long.
numbers.
It's a couple of years, 3 years, something like that.
Well, yeah, I'd have to take a look. I mean, they've shared some of their financial numbers, but not all of them. Right. I mean, I think there are people who will still continue to invest in Uber. I mean, reports have said that SoftBank, which has a $100 billion fund, is interested in investing. And so they have money to keep Uber alive. So I'm not worried about Uber going out of business. I don't even think that's close to a possibility, but whether it's going to achieve its private market valuation will be a big deal for the whole industry, because a lot of LPs, the investors who get where VCs get their money from, are in multiple venture funds. And if a lot of those venture funds were counting on Uber and it's not as good of an outcome as they thought it would be, then that's going to be a problem. I mean, particularly for the investors who got in later. I mean, the investors who got in early, they're going to have a wonderful outcome, really, no matter what. It's just a matter of how many billions they'll be worth. But
Calacanis is going to be insufferable after that.
Going to be insufferable.
That's
I love you, Jason.
He's going to be filling in for me next month, actually. Well, we watch with interest. I feel like there's no indicator that Uber is the magic one.
No.
Right? There's so many potential. And if I were an LP at this point, I'd be hedging my bet with a lot of different companies. Instead of pouring more money into Uber, I'd be maybe seeing if I could get a little money in that Waymo thing, a little money in that Tesla thing, a little money in, Ford. Or there's so many people out there, and I don't think there's any evidence that you can turn that there's something magical about the taxi business that allows it to pivot into the self-driving car business.
It seems to me that the experience of getting a ride in the self-driving world will be close to or identical to the experience of being in your living room.
That's a good point. What Uber's doing right now would work either way.
Right. But I think that Apple, and this is a fairly controversial point, but I think that Apple is going to be a dominant player. It's going to be like, and if you don't believe Apple's going to get into the car industry, then you'll have to tell me what trillion-dollar industry they are going to get into.
They have to find one because they can't, right.
But the experience, you get into a car, and let's say you have a 55-minute drive to wherever it is you're going. That's going to be 55 minutes of virtual reality, music, of social interaction on HD video screens, of all this stuff. That's what it's, the transportation of your body from one place to another is going to be the least relevant part of this. And as far as the technology goes, these are going to be little boxes that just take you to wherever you're going. And in the meantime, there's this. It's a multimedia consumption experience that's similar to like the smartphone, which is now
testing it right now. You're absolutely right. What are you going to do when you're not driving, but you're sitting in this box for an hour or two every day?
You're going to be busy.
You're going to be
consuming
busy,
content,
and it's going to be a huge revenue opportunity. So I just think this is all farther off than we think. And I think one of the problems is that governments are going to be very concerned about the safety issues of self-driving cars, and they're not going to just bend over and say, oh, yeah, just go ahead, put all those self-driving cars on the highway you want. We don't care.
They're supposed to be safer, I think, in the long run. Part of the appeal is that they're going to cut down on accidents since most of them are caused by human error.
Yeah, that's nice and logical.
Sure.
But tell a person getting in the car where there's no controls, oh, no, you're safer. You're in a box hurtling down the highway, but you're safer.
So I have to say,
You've been in them.
I've been in Google self-driving cars when they were in highway mode, and after about 10 minutes,
you get used to it.
Okay, yeah, you're talking to your friend. You don't even notice that you're on the highway. So I think that won't be the problem. I think the argument that they are safer will definitely carry a lot of weight.
Is it safer when you mix human drivers with autonomous vehicles?
That's the part I worry about.
Yes, it is.
I think it's still
the humans are the problem, not the robots.
Right.
But I think it's going to, seeing how governments and how people adjust to that is going to be fascinating.
You talk about, like, I write a lot about the risks of living abroad and living in different countries. And people are worried about terrorism. They're worried about crime. Traffic accidents are vastly more dangerous than either of those things.
And that will be one thing that'll propel this, is that numbers go up and it really becomes carnage on the freeways. People will be looking for a way out. And we're going to just get more distracted. We're not going to get less distracted. No. We're just going to be worse drivers. Every year we're going to get worse. It's gotten worse. For the first time in a long time, the highway death toll has gone up. And I think it's going to continue to go up. So that will provide pressure.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure. Look, I'm just thinking through stuff that all these investors who put billions into this company have already thought through, and for some reason they've said, "Well, Uber's got it." Now, am I morally culpable for not getting rid of Uber? Should I be riding Lyft?
Yes, you should.
People who
I know a lot of people too.
I'm a bad man because of that.
Yes, you are, Leo. You're a bad man.
It's so convenient and easy. What do you do, Katie?
So I did.
Yeah, right. Same thing.
I did boycott Uber for a while.
Yeah, for a while.
But after they got rid of a whole bunch of people, I brought it back. And the reason is because at my apartment, Lyft insists on dropping me off on the correct side of the street, which requires them to go all the way around multiple blocks, get in line for the freeway before picking me up. And so it takes like 20 minutes longer to get picked up or dropped off.
Uber doesn't mind breaking the law.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was late for months out of principle, and then decided for now.
Yeah. Let's play fast and loose with those traffic rules. Katie's got to get to work. Wow. I do find it just more convenient. I don't know why. I don't want to get in a Lyft for some reason. Maybe it's just
they don't make you do a fist bump anymore.
Oh, thank God! And the pink mustache is gone too.
It's gone.
Right?
Yeah.
That's my cousin designed that, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, really? Wait, I met the guy who sold the mustaches.
Ethan Eiler. He had a company before they were bought by Lyft that did the pink mustaches, and he's in charge of all of their stunts, because Lyft does a lot of stunts, right, for holidays and stuff like that. I think I think unless he's lying to me.
I think that's the person I met.
I invented it.
I invented that big mustache. That was me.
Yeah, I think I met him.
Eiler.
Yeah.
Eyler. I think you did meet him. He's a nice, good-looking young fella about your age. I don't know how I have a young cousin, but I do. Our show today, let's take a break. I want to take a break. And I warned you, Katie, that this goes on and on and on, that we will be done before Game of Thrones. Tonight's the last night, right?
Really? Okay.
Winter is coming.
Holy cow. And then we have to wait a year or what?
I don't know.
It's a long wait. How long do we have to wait for the next?
Till the next leak.
Yeah. You can watch. Now, see, that I would watch.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, reruns. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I think it's going to be a while there because they haven't finished making the next episode. So I think we have another while to wait. Is next week the finale? Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
I thought we were the next week. Okay, whatever.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. I know.
Chat room knows.
If you missed, by the way, we had a great week on Twit, and I thought it would be nice to show you a little home video of what happened. Watch.
Previously on Twit.
I want to go with a completely radical idea.
Oh, what's that?
Don't point your camera at the daggum sun during the eclipse. Point it anywhere else.
What's much more interesting during the eclipse is how people are reacting to it, the reflections, the images you see.
All your friends are going to have those pictures of the sun with the little moon thing in it, and yeah, that's cool. But you could have pictures of things nobody else has.
Triangulation.
Do you remember the first time you spoke to Steve Jobs?
Yes. He came back to Apple. It was a mess, as you know. Jobs calls my house on a Sunday night, and he starts, giving me his spiel. And then he started calling every Sunday night. The first call, my wife was like, it's Steve Jobs on the phone. By the third call, it was like, it's Steve Jobs on the phone.
Know-how.
Today on Know-how, we'll use billion-dollar satellites to find cheap McDonald's toys. Geocaching.
They might even find a Leo bobblehead in a cache.
Who wouldn't want that?
We're going to do an official Twit geocache.
Nice.
And we're not going to list it on geocaching.com until after a viewer finds it.
Twit, coming to you from 38 degrees 14 minutes north, 122 degrees 38 minutes west.
It's really depressing. No one found it.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Right? Nobody has found it yet.
And then your people forgot where it is.
I know exactly where it is. The next, within 12 hours, somebody went and was there and was looking. We have a video of him looking. He didn't find it. So a tip: lift up the base of the light pole, and there's a bobblehead under there. It's depressing. It's like nobody wants it. Wonder why. Anyway, that bobblehead's still there if you want to play a little home version of our game. Next week, a big week. Jason Howell, what's coming up?
This week on Monday, August 21st, yes, that total solar eclipse you've heard so much about will finally happen. So I hope you've ordered your eclipse glasses to protect your eyeballs.
You don't have to.
Almost as historic, maybe just a little bit less so, is Google's official release of the next version of Android. Android O, or Oreo, or Oatmeal Cookie, or even Octopus. Look,
I bet
Google's
Cookie.
getting really good at trolling people on this. So check for that news on Monday to find out what tasty treat will adorn new Android devices for the year to come. Finally, on Wednesday, August 23rd, Samsung holds one of its biggest events of the year, Unpacked, where it will unveil the Galaxy Note 8. That's right. It's been a full year since the Note 7 burst onto the scene in flames. Note fans should rejoice. This one should not scar you for life. That's a look at a few of the things we'll be tracking in the coming week. Join Megan Maroney and me on Tech News Today every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, here on twit.tv.
We'll also have an essential phone for you. This is going to be a fun week. We're getting to that time in tech when it starts to get very interesting as all the products come out for the last quarter, calendar quarter of the year. Our show today brought to you by Betterment, the largest independent online financial advisor. I want you to go to betterment.com/twit and check this out. I know you need to be saving for your future, your kids' college education, the house you want to buy, that special vacation, or more importantly, your retirement. The question is, how do you do that? And Betterment is, I love their system. It's designed to help you improve your long-term returns, lower your taxes for retirement planning, building wealth, and other financial goals. But they do it with technology. So, and you get to choose how you want this to be. You can have no human contact whatsoever. I know some of you would prefer not to never talk to anybody. You can text message a certified financial planner. They can assign one to you. By the way, these are the guys who don't work on commission. They're paid to look out for your interests. So they're giving you really good advice, and they have a really great team of people. You can call them. You can visit them. You can choose the level of interaction you want. So that is really great. 270,000 customers now, billions of dollars under investment. They are, of all of these services, absolutely the best. They've just added, and I really love, this is, I'm not, SEC regulations mean, by the way, fill that out because that's really cool. SEC regulations say that I cannot invest in this and do an ad for them, which drives me freaking nuts. So I'm not a customer. Hey, yes. Hi, Alex. That's not a real person, by the way. I just Alex is going to help you figure out, very simple. You can invest. They have just added this. They have a socially responsible investment portfolio, or SRI. I really like that. In fact, I love the idea of saving for my retirement, but without harming the environment. They have really figured out how to do this. You can reduce your investment in companies that don't meet certain social, environmental, or governance benchmarks. You can feel good about your investments. You'll always know what your net worth is. In fact, you can sync in all your other investments and savings, and so you completely know where you stand. You pay the 0.25% annual fee. That gives you unlimited messaging access to their licensed financial experts. Again, this is kind of my preferred way. I still get the advice and information, but I don't have to talk to somebody on the phone. And there's no selling. It's just information. If you do want phone access to their team, you upgrade, and that's 0.4%. They're a fiduciary. So this is really important, and I think you understand when I say it means they are working for you, not on commission. They are not trying to sell you products. They don't have funds of their own. They do not at Betterment. They care about keeping your money and your data secure. They use, of course, the best state-of-the-art data encryption, two-factor authentication, of course, and really smart people who can help you in the way that you feel most comfortable. Investing involves risk. I'm not going to kid you, but you want to do it right. It's really a great system. Get up to 1 year managed for free for a limited time at betterment.com/twit. There are some conditions, but you can find out all about that at betterment.com/twit. Lower costs, better investing, betterment.com/twit. Rethink what your money can do, and we're very happy to have them as a partner on This Week in Tech. Mike Elgan is here. His last chance to see him before he heads back to Europe for his gastro-nomad experience.
I'm intending to gain 20 or 30 pounds.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
This is your last
chance. This is what I don't understand about you. You eat all the food I want to eat, and look at him.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Why?
I don't get it either.
Are you still doing the Spartan diet?
No. Well, kind of, sort of.
I'm doing a Spartan diet. I don't eat.
When I'm in the U.S., that's pretty Spartan. When I'm in the U.S., I do. When we're abroad, forget it.
You got jamon iberico. You got paella. You're not going to.
No, you're not.
Manchego cheese. You're not going to. Yeah.
No.
It's road trip rules.
Exactly.
If you're on a road trip, you can eat whatever you want.
That's right.
I was in Disneyland the last 2 days. I ate the most disgusting food in great quantities. It's horrible.
Hot dogs? What did you eat?
Oh,
Goofy dogs, they call them.
Goofy dogs, Monte Cristo sandwiches, churros. Like churros. There was one churro booth. They had a churro ice cream sandwich. And it said in really tiny print, some assembly required. And I didn't, I'm not kidding.
All right.
So you buy it, and they give you 2 churros in a circle and a thing of ice cream, and you're supposed to put it together. It was,
You need to warn you.
I had to go back to the hotel room.
That's cooking.
It was a mess. Yeah, that's cooking.
Once you combine it yourself, that's cooking.
You shouldn't need to cook. But I did go, I went on all the new rides. It was fun. Had a good time, yeah. Also here with us, it's great to have her for the first time on Twit, Katie Roof. It's so nice to have you in studio. So far, are we doing okay?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, you having fun?
We're not done.
Oh my God, we're just beginning.
Getting started.
I told you.
We forgot to record. We're going to do that over again.
You laugh. That happened in the early days of Twit several times. It got to one point where I actually accidentally erased the same interview with the same guy twice.
Oh, no.
So once I called him back and we do it again. He did it again. I somehow fumble-fingered it and erased it a second time. I sent the guy this big basket of fruit and coffee. Said,
churros.
Can we do it one more time? He was very generous, and he did
Triple
it.
triangulation.
That was on Floss. Actually, it was Floss Weekly. I just was terrible. I don't remember who it was, but I feel terrible. Anyway, it's nice to have you, Katie. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Senior writer for TechCrunch. You see her or hear her on her. Do you do video on equity?
We might do some that are Facebook Live.
No.
But,
No. Do audio.
Okay.
I have only one regret, and that's we spent millions of dollars building a video.
You'd have to be insane.
You'd have to be insane
to do this, Leo.
It has no appreciable benefit, but well, it's fun for us.
Well,
we enjoy it.
Yeah.
But you listen to some of our shows. You listen. You don't watch.
Yeah,
no one has time. No, ain't nobody got time for that.
It's great while you're doing a run.
Yeah.
I don't know
By the
about you,
way,
but I have a face made for podcasts.
No, you're a good-looking guy, and you too look great. You lost you do those 30-day challenges. You lost a lot of weight, and now you're just. It's because you work for the government. You make no money, and you don't have any food. You're living on ramen.
I call it the USDS diet. We go to meetings all day and just skip lunch.
No time to eat.
Yeah.
Do you still do the 30-day challenges?
Yeah.
What's your challenge this month?
Well, my 30-day challenge is not to wear a tie for 30 days. Which
In the government
is hard. I've only broken it once, and it was a meeting with the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. So
I would wear a tie.
It's worth, to show respect. Absolutely.
Yeah. How do you not wear a tie?
Well, August is vacation month, so everybody's gone. So I'm wearing shorts in the office.
I like your challenges. See, that's a challenge I could do. Not wear a tie. I could do that.
Easy here in Silicon Valley, though.
Yeah, you can pull that off.
No one wears ties. Yeah.
That'd be a good challenge when you're in Silicon Valley. Wear a tie for a month. And see
I wear
what
a tie
happens.
to work. They say, are you interviewing? Are you looking for work? What's going on? Should we be worried?
My first job in Silicon Valley worked for a startup, and I showed up in a suit and tie. I was living in New York at the time, and he looked me up and down. He's like, what are you wearing a suit for? I was like, well, it's a job interview. He's like, listen, I got one suit, and it's a tuxedo for gathering awards. Never wear a suit in Silicon Valley. So anyway, that was...
This is a strange story. Supreme Court asked to nullify the Google trademark.
Oh, man.
Is the term Google too generic and then unworthy of trademark protection? The U.S. Supreme Court is gonna hear this case.
I wish I could bet money on this guy losing.
A guy named Chris Gillespie, back in 2012, he registered 763 domain names, as one does.
As you do.
As you do, that combine Google with other words, including GoogleDonaldTrump.com. This is prescient, 2012. Google, well, they filed a cyber squatting complaint under the Uniform Domain Name Dispute Resolution Policy. Of course, the acronym for that, UDRP.
UDRP. They think they're nerds whenever they...
You sound like the Swedish chef when you claim trademark infringement. Google won. An arbitration panel ordered the forfeiture of the domains. So Gillespie said, no, not so fast. He sued. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled last year that Google's trademark should really be kept. It's Google. This is the court wrote, even if we assume the public uses the verb Google in a generic and indiscriminate sense, but I would submit that before the Google came along, you never said the word Google unless you're a mathematician talking about a million.
To the 100th, yeah.
What is a Google? A billion?
It's like 1 followed by 100 zeros. Yeah.
1 with 100 zeros. A Google. And there's Googleplex, which is a Google times Google. Google squared?
10 to the Google power. I forget now.
But it's not like this is...
I've unloaded that part of the cache.
It's not spelled the same anyway. It's different Google.
But this has happened 1,000 times before. Band-Aids, Kleenex. I mean, it goes on and on.
So the theory being if people just use it enough that it just genericizes.
It becomes a word.
But they also take into account whether the company tries to protect its trademark, which, by the way, Google has for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And every 3 or 4 years, there's, some Google's being a jerk because they send a letter to somebody that says, yo, you used it in a generic way, please don't do that. So there's a long track record of Google protecting its trademark.
Right.
I guess I've never heard someone say they were Yahooing something. No offense to my sister company, but...
Or Binging something.
Yeah. No.
Briefly, Microsoft did run ads trying to convince
President
people.
Trump uses the word bing a lot, but he's like bing, bang, boom.
No, that's bada bing.
Oh, bada
boom.
Okay.
That's a...
All right.
Is genericide a word?
It is apparently illegal.
I like that word. That's a good word.
It's a form of abandonment. A mark will be deemed to be abandoned if its use has been discontinued for 3 years with the intent not to resume such use. By the way, that's how we got the new screensavers trademark, is NBC failed to renew screensavers.
Oh, nice.
They called us and they said, you can't use it. And I said, well, have you ever heard the word genericide?
Turns out I can. Gotcha.
When the mark becomes like Kleenex, like Xerox, a generic name for the goods. Now, Xerox for a long time really fought that. Spam, it's interesting. Hormel, for a long time, eventually gave up. Does that mean they lost the trademark to spam?
I think there's also areas where the trademark gets used.
So it's if you're talking about sliced and diced pork shoulder.
Right. Lunch meat, yeah.
Lunch meat, they own that. But when you're talking about email spam, they don't care about that. Genericide, it's amazing. So brands essentially destroyed by their own success. The Supreme Court will rule whether Google has committed genericide. Gillespie has appealed to the Supreme Court. Now, they haven't agreed to take up the case. In all likelihood, they'll go.
It's not going to go anywhere.
This is like the guy who says he invented email.
Right.
Like, come on.
Which I'm sure he did, and I would not in any case want to assume that he didn't or assert that in any way he did not invent email when he was 12 years old and email had been around for a decade or two. Yeah. He's probably right.
Alleged. It's alleged.
Isn't that sad that we are all, because he sued TechDirt, Mike Masnick. Yeah. The good news is Mike now has a $250,000 defense fund thanks to some big companies that stepped forward and said, this is the story of a guy who has for years asserted he invented email, even though it's demonstrable that email existed before he invented it.
Sure seems demonstrable to me.
I think he says he invented it independently as a high school kid. It's a strange story, and unfortunately for him, he gets mocked a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for the people who mock him, he also sues a lot. Right. And so that case is ongoing with.
There are always people who take advantage of things like that, but in general, I think that the whole world of litigiousness and American litigiousness, in particular, is probably generally a pretty beneficial thing, because it is.
Everybody gets their day in court. Everybody has the right to say.
Exactly. If somebody, in fact, did invent something, and they can take the biggest company to court, and there's a chance that they could win a settlement where they'll get.
It's one of the strengths of this nation, I believe.
And one of the things that's unusual about the United States is we've always been a very diverse society, and this is a great strength. And the majority of Americans love our diversity. In a diverse society, you have to have different norms. For example, Americans smile a lot. When I travel around the world, I see people smiling. Americans, I can tell from across the street.
Everybody else, they're not frowning, they're just not smiling.
And the reason for it, there's been a study about this recently, is in a multicultural society with people come different languages, stuff like that, smiling is the easiest thing that's universal that everybody understands. So we've gotten this habit culturally centuries ago to do that. Another one is litigiousness. We all have different values. We come from different places. We have different opinions. And so a courtroom is the closest you have to an objective place to determine these things. And so it's a good thing. Ridiculous lawsuits like this notwithstanding, it's going to happen.
I agree with you. There's a lot of money lost to patent trolls. I think that's gotten better, thank goodness. But for years, we were talking about billions of dollars lost to patent trolls. And yet I think it is so important that everybody have the right to go to petition the court and say, I've been wronged, and I would like you to rule on that. I agree with you. Yeah. I think that, and the rule of law and that notion is so important to the United States. I remember traveling in Egypt on the same trip. I was going down the Nile, and there's a country where the rule of law has kind of lost ground, and it's very corrupt. And there's a lot of backsheesh, and you get a job because your brother-in-law worked. And what happens is people start to lose faith in that, and then the whole thing kind of collapses. Once you lose faith in that shared myth of a government, of a common cause, it's very hard to hold a country together. And I knew, and it was obvious that Egypt was going to go through some troubles. This is 2009, because not merely because of that, because of big population growth and other things, but that when you lose the rule of law, you've lost something really important. People have to have some faith that no matter what, they can get redress.
Right.
That it's not who you know. That there's a chance.
It's respect that the institutions of the society work the way that you expect them to, and that they're fair.
And I think that's why we're going to talk about this in a second, but I think that's why in this country we're a little worried right now, because it feels a little shakier that maybe that rule of law. But I think everybody who's listening, I really believe this strongly. That is, if you pick one strength of this country, it's not our military strength, it's this faith in the Constitution and the rule of law, and that you can go and you can get redress. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think we often talk about, they sue happy and it's litigious and trial lawyers. Right. But no, there are some negatives. I'm not saying it's perfect, but on the balance, it really is what makes this country, I think, a great country. Yeah. Very lucky.
And in the world of patents, that's problematic in two ways. One is because the rules of the patent universe are completely messed up, and everybody's talked a lot about that. The other one is that you can sue locally. So everybody goes to this one town in Texas.
That's changing, though.
Exactly. And so that's
really good news. And that was, I think, a circuit court that ruled that you can sue. In fact, a company can sue in its jurisdiction, not in Tyler, Texas.
Yes.
And by the way, that was a business. For Tyler, Texas.
Right. The P.O. box industry was just amazing there.
And one of the reasons I bring this up, and we're taking a break, but we'll come back because this is going to be the final topic of the day. There's a lot of other stories. We only got to a little bit, but I do want to talk a little bit about the Daily Stormer, the Nazi website, which was Google. First, GoDaddy kicked them out, said you can't register a domain here. They went to Google. 3 hours later, Google says you can't go here. We have a sponsor. We had a sponsor, Cloudflare, that got a lot of heat because they said we will continue to protect them as we do everybody, including ISIS, because we provide a DDoS service that is ecumenical. It doesn't. It's not about protecting the content. It's just about. And there's a big debate. And the EFF weighed in on Cloudflare's side, which is interesting, and against Google and GoDaddy. Yep. And I have got. Since we have such a great panel here and a smart group here, I kind of want to know what you all think about that, because this I think is related.
Yeah.
We have said free speech, with very few exceptions. And yet now we have big companies deciding who gets to speak.
Yep.
Is that right? Is that okay? We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Hold that thought.
Okay. After the
Hold
break.
that thought.
You don't get to speak. You don't have the right.
I control the microphone.
Speech.
No, I think it's a big topic, and I want to give everybody a chance to kind of gather their thoughts. I'll do a commercial. We'll come back. This is probably the last topic of the day. We're running out of time, but I really wanted to talk about this one. Yeah. Our show today brought to you by LegalZoom, talking about the rule of law. This is a great example. When we started Twit 2005. That's 12 years ago. I talked to Kevin Rose. He said, you got to do an LLC. Go to LegalZoom. You don't need a lawyer. They can do all the paperwork. They provide you all the paperwork. We did the trademarks that way. They helped me start my business. LegalZoom is not a law firm. They will provide you. They can help set you up with pre-negotiated flat rate legal advice in all 50 states. But what they really are is there to help you in your life, whether it's your business or your family. This is National Make-A-Will Month. August is Make-A-Will Month. And I think a really great reminder to everybody, especially if you have kids. But even if you just have a pet, you need, believe it or not, LegalZoom has the documents to care for your pet should something happen to you. Preparing for your family's future is the most important thing you're going to do this summer. It's time to think about it. Even if you have a will, maybe time to update it. And they're going to make it very easy. They've created an estate planning kit that's absolutely free. There's no cost to you. Go to LegalZoom.com/prepare. LegalZoom.com/prepare. This is I've got the kit. It's great. You're going to get lots of information. They give you LegalZoom discounts too, of course, but that's great too. Everything you need to stop procrastinating and start preparing for your family's future. It doesn't have to be just wills. It could be a living trust. Everything is in there. You're going to get a estate plan checklist. You're going to get an ebook information to help you decide what's right for you. And again, and I love this, if you do have a question and you need to talk to a lawyer, you could do it not for $450 an hour, but at a low flat rate to one of the attorneys in LegalZoom's network. They're not a law firm, but they've got this kind of pre-negotiated deal with a network of attorneys in all 50 states. LegalZoom, they've been around for a long time. They sure helped me. They can help you too. LegalZoom.com/prepare. There's no obligation, by the way. This is a completely free kit. It's just great resources and discounts to help you during National Make-A-Will Month. I like this a lot. LegalZoom.com/prepare. We thank LegalZoom for the help they gave us 12 years ago at Trademark. And I don't want to commit genericide. We're fighting that trademark. We actually, well, I can't talk about it. But we have pursued that trademark in various places. Cost a lot more than LegalZoom did. LegalZoom.com/prepare. All right. So, did I describe this situation accurately?
You know, if I may, Leo, I'd like to describe what the real issue is, because there's a lot of people talking about lots of different things.
Okay.
So companies like Google or Cloudflare or other companies
GoDaddy
do censor whatever they do. For example, best example is child pornography. Everybody condemns it, right? This is not something that should be allowed to flourish on the public internet. ISIS is another case. Now, Cloudflare, you said, does support ISIS.
I've been told. I don't know, and I haven't talked to Cloudflare
that's
about
alleged.
that. They don't support. Wait a minute, that's really important. They don't support it, and I think the important distinction is Cloudflare provides DDoS service to all and sundry, just like your electric company doesn't ask you, well, what's your politics before they sign you up for electricity, or the phone company says, well, you can use this phone, but you can't use it to describe Nazi activities. Those are utilities that traditional utilities are completely agnostic about the bits carried on there,
but they don't trade in content. That's the difference. Google, people communicate. There's content. There's sites. The web pages involved that have content, and so they're in different classes. The EFF is coming out against the Googles and the Facebooks and so on for shutting down Nazi groups, alt-right, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So to me, the question is, we understand intuitively that you can't provide, and we don't provide access for ISIS or child pornographers to have groups on Facebook or to have.
That seems reasonable,
right? I think most people agree with that.
That seems reasonable,
right? And the reason,
to the degree they're able. I mean, when you've got 1.5 billion or 2 billion,
and the reason
customers,
isn't speech. It's not opinions about child pornography. Is that we feel that actually creates a harm to real people, physical harm. And ISIS is the same case. So the question is, do Nazi and white supremacist sites lead to harm? Now, a lot of the speech that takes place on the Storm, whatever they are, is innocuous. They're actually talking about policies, immigration policies. They have their opinion, and that kind of speech should be protected. But the question is when they say, let's go and light crosses, let's go intimidate so-and-so, let's shut down other people's free speech, let's go kill people, let's go do this, that, and the other thing. That seems to me to cross into that territory of the speech is actually yelling fire in a theater. You're threatening harm to real people physically, and that's the line.
So I'm Jewish, so this Nazi stuff is kind of personal, and I've read all about the history of the Holocaust, and I won't get into that. But I mean, this kind of speech definitely led to a lot of violence, clearly, and I think that the meaning of free speech has been distorted again and again. It's supposed to mean that you legally can say whatever you want to say. It doesn't mean people have to like what you say. It doesn't mean companies have to do business with you. But instead, it's been used in a way that it's just not accurately portrayed. No company should have to allow a Nazi site unless they have, I guess, a monopoly. I don't think these people should go to jail for saying their hateful thoughts, because I do believe in free speech in America, but I don't think that they should, I don't think Google should have to do business with them. I don't think Cloudflare should have to do business with them. I don't see why free speech has been equated to mean something just entirely different than what it's supposed to
Should
mean.
Cloudflare be...
I actually am torn. But let me read what the EFF said. And I am a strong supporter of the EFF, and they are a strong supporter of free speech. Now, I should point out the ACLU just recently said, we are not going to defend Nazis if they bear arms or advocate violence. We don't. That's a change in the ACLU's policy, by the way. Yeah. This is what the EFF says. We strongly believe what GoDaddy, Google, and Cloudflare did here was dangerous. That's because even when the facts are the most vile, we must remain vigilant when platforms exercise these rights, because internet intermediaries, especially those with few competitors, control so much online speech, the consequences of their decisions have far-reaching impacts on speech around the world. And at EFF, we see the consequences firsthand. Every time a company throws a vile neo-Nazi site off the net, thousands of less visible decisions are made by companies with little oversight or transparency. They worry that precedents are being set that can shift the justice of these removals. So I do think Google and GoDaddy are in a different situation than Cloudflare.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. I think Cloudflare can very reasonably argue, and I supported them in this, although we decided to decline their advertising at the time, they can argue we're a utility, like an electric company. I don't think the electric company should decide who gets electricity, or the phone company should decide who gets phone service. And I feel like that's kind of more what Cloudflare is doing. Google, on the other hand, and GoDaddy, I don't know. What do you think, Matt? You used to, when you worked at Google, dealt with this all the time.
Well, and certainly from the time at Google, there's a bunch of folks who are not free speech absolutists, but who think about the power of free speech and think about the power of the platform somewhere like Google. So having worked on the first version of Safe Search, for example, it was only dedicated to pornography, family-safe content. But you would see people come in and say, okay, that's great, but what about the anarchist cookbook?
It's always, where do you draw the line?
What about a witchcraft or a Wiccan site? What about pro-anorexia sites? And you could just see the slippery slope down there. And so it was easier to just say, okay, Safe Search would only be about this topic. And over
something
time,
we could all agree on, or mostly agree on?
No one's going to agree 100%.
Well, look at Twitter. Twitter, the free speech wing of the free speech party, right? And look at how out of control it got.
So I know that there are debates happening internally at Google where people say, okay, but where exactly does this line happen? Because if you locate your website on Blogspot or WordPress, then you're not surprised if WordPress takes you down.
Because they're hosting the content.
They're hosting the content. But if you have your own domain name, it's really interesting to think about, can I be
as a registrar,
kicked off the internet?
What is a registrar doing when they're not really saying we're hosting the content, they're not endorsing the content, they just allow you to register the name? I don't know if a domain registrar should be able to do that. And I think Cloudflare going even a step further, I don't know, it's very difficult. Well, because at the same time, the Daily Stormer is reprehensible. And the thing that got them in the most trouble was, I don't even want to repeat it, was truly beyond the pale. And any right-minded society would reject it.
Right. So my view is that the First Amendment doesn't give anybody any rights at all. What it does is says the government cannot the Congress cannot pass a law.
Any company can do it. There's not even a question.
It doesn't mention companies. It doesn't mention citizens. It says Congress cannot pass a law that infringes free speech. And if there's no law, then the executive branch can't enforce such a law, et cetera. And so the way to deal, so yesterday was an amazing event that took place in Boston.
Amazing.
So a small number of people were there to ostensibly promote free speech. And they were sort of alt-right types. And there was like 50, 75, I don't know how many. There were fewer than 100 of them.
They fit in the bandstand.
And then 40,000 people marched to oppose neo-Nazi types and that sort of thing that happened in Charlottesville. Everybody was exercising free speech. It was a thing of beauty. Yeah. But the point I'm getting to is that it takes a village to destroy the Nazi movement, right? I mean, and so part of that village, I think, is Google and Facebook and these other companies. They are companies that are they're not privately owned, they're publicly owned, but they're publicly owned by lots of individual people. And we as shareholders, as customers of these companies, I think have a duty to examine these things as we're doing on the show right now, and think, where is that line? And I think the line is physical violence. This is the line that Twitter uses to determine who they boot off the site. If you threaten physical harm, then you're out. If you say all kinds of horrible anti-Semitic things, you're not out, because that's speech. You haven't threatened anybody's physical life. So I think that physical harm is really the line that most societies can accept as the line. All right. Does it lead to physical harm?
We agree?
I just think people should be, or companies should be able to do business with whoever they want to do business with. I mean, generally, it's best for business to do business with a lot of people if you're consumer-facing business. But I don't see why there should be any sort of regulation or any sort of rule that requires them to do business with Nazis. They're not preventing free speech unless they actually have a monopoly, because someone else can take their business in theory.
Yet, Google and Facebook, not GoDaddy, Google and Facebook wield a lot of power.
A lot.
I mean, not monopoly power, admittedly, but
close.
So much so that there is some concern that if they were to, especially in search results, if Google were to decide, well, we're just not going to show this stuff up, it wouldn't exist in effect. You wouldn't have to get the host to take it down. In fact, that's what the right to be forgotten is in Europe. You don't go to the host to say take it down. You go to Google and say, Could you delete that from your search results? In effect, that deletes it from the internet. I admit it's not, but it does in effect, right?
Well, and at least a lot of the people at Google tend to have the philosophy, or had the philosophy, of the answer to bad speech is more speech.
I believe that.
Better idea
I
win.
believe that.
But I don't know whether that
theoretically
has changed. Like when you're dealing with Nazis, that's...
I used to say that when the internet started, I said, this is going to be great because we're going to expose everything to the light. And in the light, bad stuff will die and good stuff will survive and prosper. And what is the reality? What have we learned? In fact, we gave a megaphone to, I think these are small groups. I think these neo-Nazi groups are actually fairly small groups, but we gave them a megaphone that gave them an outsized voice, and it didn't have the effect that I thought it would, which is we would all go, see how dopey they are? I remember we've had Klan marches my whole life, and they usually were small, dopey groups that everybody would go, yeah, the Klan. But it doesn't feel that way anymore, especially with the death of a young woman in Charlottesville. They somehow crossed a line. And now look at Spotify's removing hate bans from its library. Squarespace says it's removing sites from Squarespace. Increasingly, the internet is stepping forward saying you crossed the line.
What is the connection between the driver of that car in Charlottesville and the speech that was taking place on...
Well, that's a good question.
The Weekly Stormer or whatever it is.
Maybe.
It's probably a direct line. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't a lot more violence.
Well, and in fact,
so many
the
armed
final
people.
straw that knocked him off of Cloudflare and I think of other places was, in fact, a really horrific article about the woman who was killed.
Afterwards, yeah.
Afterwards. Yeah. So there was the line in that sense. They were absolute. So we've seen now the effect of trolling, the effect of, I think to some degree, both, I hate to say it, this sounds like I'm very Trumpian here, but both the alt-right and the Antifa, the Anti-Fascist League, sometimes I feel like opposite coins of the same kind of 4chan lulz group.
The difference
they like to fight each other. There's some investment in both.
The difference is that the greatest generation is the greatest generation because they fought Nazis.
We stopped the Nazis.
Exactly. I mean, from an ideological perspective, they are not equals by any means. Obviously, I don't condone any sort of violence, but to put them on the same moral plane as Trump has been accused of, I think is really reprehensible, especially coming from the White House.
And he backed down. I think his recent tweets are celebrating the protest. It's very confusing.
Right. I don't know.
It's very confusing. But anyway, to leave Trump out of it, I feel like a line was crossed, and there was a convulsive reaction by the internet.
It definitely galvanized a ton of folks.
Yeah, and everybody said, no, you went too far. Right. We believe in free speech. See, I think free speech has been well served. We believed in free speech, but the minute you cross that line, it's not okay.
Yeah, and nothing has no cultural thing of any kind has no context. There's a big context in all this stuff.
Yeah.
So we talk about alt-right, white supremacy, and neo-Nazi. Okay, let's look at those. Alt-right. There are a lot of alt-right people who are just extremely conservative. Dick Cheney is probably alt-right, right? White supremacists. Okay, this is an objectionable set of ideas. But probably, they are ideas. They're talking about policy. They're talking about, they tend to take the victim approach, saying, oh, we need to protect our own people, stuff like that. When you get into neo-Nazis, so there's a history with Nazis. It's like when you have Nazi symbols and doing Nazi salutes and have swastikas on your shirt and stuff like that, you're talking about supporting genocide.
Exactly, and that's why I think it's condoning violence.
I agree, but I think there are a number of these are just kids who don't know any better, and they've been playing too much Call of Duty, spent too much time in their basement.
So we teach them better by kicking them off Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are consequences.
Did you see the video of the kid who took his shirt off to hide because he got the disappearance?
He got doxxed.
Well, no, he was at a protest and had his white shirt on, signaling what he would, and then somebody started chasing him, and he took the shirt off very quickly and pretended to just.
I think there's a certain. There's just. I don't know.
Well, actually, that event to me is a reason why you don't want to kick them off too much.
You want to know who they are.
You want them to interact with other people. So one of the things that I feel that happened is these a-holes have been talking to each other and nobody else
for
a few years in a vacuum, and they went out into the real world with their worldview, and they just got trash, especially in Boston yesterday. They just got their butts handed to them because the real world isn't like their little message boards.
And that's a good thing.
Exactly. So, to a certain extent, you don't want them on the dark web where nobody can challenge them.
That was kind of the idea, was sunlight disinfects, and that was one of the arguments. It's just that we've also seen horrific behavior in public.
Yep.
And this is a tough one.
I'm heartened by the reaction, though. I really am.
I guess I am, but I also understand why the EFF is disheartened, because that could set a bad precedent, too.
Yeah. I mean, this
is tough.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It has to be case by case. Yeah. I think that's what Cloudflare's CEO said. We're going to do this once and once only to these assholes, is the word he used. And then we're not going to do it again.
Right.
Because I think Matthew Prince, the CEO, really believes that they should be a completely, independent, not a blind service.
Well, and it seems like he was saying, we're going to do this once, and then in the space that creates, where things calm down a little bit, think about the policy.
Right.
And what are the implications?
Right.
And, what's the general...
I kind of honor that. I think this is a very hard thing to do. I know Google struggles with this. I'm sure Facebook struggles with this all the time. And it's a very hard thing to do. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up at the end. I think it was great that we had this conversation, and I'm really thrilled that you were all here for it. Katie, thank you so much for joining us. Plug something. TechCrunch.com. Katie's got a lot of bylines. Equity.
Equity is our podcast.
Anything else? Your favorite TV show? Your favorite color? Anything you want. Okay.
My favorite color today is olive.
I like it. It's a good color. It's a good color.
Or TechCrunch green. How about that?
TechCrunch green. I love it. Mike Elgan. Elgan is on, of course, Twitter as Mike Elgan. He's on the Google+. He's everywhere. He's on Fast Company, and he's on Computer World. But got to go to gastronomad.net to find out what he and Amira are up to, because it's awesome.
That's right.
Awesome. Have a great time in Barcelona.
I certainly will. And don't worry, Leo, I know you're going to be missing out on a lot of really good food, but I'll eat your portions for you.
Please?
So you don't have to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll just be looking on Instagram.
Yes.
And drooling. Matt Cutts, thank you so much for what you do for the U.S. Digital Service and all of us in the United States. Matt is the acting administrator for the USDS, where they are changing the government's relationship with its people by making the tech work better, and that is really, really important.
It's meaningful and inspirational. I was talking to some people from the team earlier this week, and there is one part of the process where someone who is a veteran and doing a disability claims appeal can get stuck in a queue that lasts 9 to 12 months.
Oh.
And just by writing some code to do some checking, there's the possibility to shave that 9 to 12 months for people who really need it, like you're over 85 years old or you have a life-threatening illness, where that really makes a difference between when you might be able to, get through a difficult situation versus be homeless. So if that's the sort of thing where you might be interested in somewhere that renews your spirit and has a really big impact, come check us out.
And what is the typical length of a tour of duty? How long?
Well, I signed up for 3 months and then extended to 6 months, and now it's been over a year that I've been there. But a lot of people will come for 1 year and then extend for another year.
Nice. Read all about it. Go to usds.gov, and if you'd like to help out, usds.gov/join, and you can help. And the last time you were on This Week in Google, a number of people said, you know what, I'm going to do it.
We got like 7 or 8 applications after I was on the podcast. I was like, you know what, when I'm back in California, I should come say hello.
That's why you're back. So let's make it 20 this time. Everybody,
that would be great.
It's such a big help. Do you have to go to D.C. to do it?
We do have, in fact, there are some folks who are helping Veterans Affairs who are out on the West Coast, but normally it's helpful if you come to D.C. because that's where you have the meetings with the secretaries and the cabinet folks and all those kinds of things.
You might be able to do that. That's pretty cool.
It helps.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. It's really great to see you. Thank you, all of you. I want to thank all of you for visiting. We had a wonderful studio audience today. You were very patient with with us. If you want to join us in the studio audience, bring a water bottle, some survival bars, some K-rations, and email tickets@twit.tv. We would love to put a chair out for you. You can also watch live on our live stream, twit.tv/live. If you do that, please join us in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. Great bunch of people in there, kind of kibitzing along with the rest of the crew. Always valuable to us to keep an eye on what you think. If you can't watch live or be here live, you can always get on-demand versions of everything we do at our website, twit.tv. You can download it there. My favorite thing to do, though, and I would ask you to do it if you can, is subscribe. We've noticed a lot of people don't subscribe anymore because it used to be you had to. You like subscribe in iTunes, you'd hook up your iPod, you'd sync it and all of that. And nowadays, it's really easy to stream it. And so a lot of people will fire up an app, and sometimes they'll be in their car, and there's something on the dashboard, or they'll fire up an app and listen to individual shows. And that makes sometimes our downloads very spiky.
You know what I do, Leo? I'm mainlining it.
Please mainline it.
I subscribe to the all Twitch shows.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's awesome.
But you have to listen to them all as well.
That is not possible.
I don't even know how we make this many. We would love it if you would subscribe. Just find your favorite podcatcher. A lot of people with iTunes, but still Pocket Cast is number 2, I found out, which is great. We're going down to the podcast movement, which is the big trade show in Anaheim on Thursday and Friday. And I hope to meet a lot of podcasters down there and a lot of podcast supporters. Look forward to it. If you're there, come say hi. And we'll see you next time. Every Sunday for the show. Sunday after. Why do I keep saying Thursday? Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC for This Week in Tech. Thanks for being here. And we'll see you next time. Another twit.
This is amazing.
Bye-bye. Doing the twit.